So, well, no, we don't have, we're missing Mark now. Okay, woo. Yes. It's summer. All right, please join me in a flag salute and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Excuse me. The Ridgewood Board of Education has been meeting in executive session pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. The minutes of this meeting will be released when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, advance notice has been given to the Star Ledger, the Record, and the Clerk of the Village of Ridgewood. In addition, notices were posted in the office of the Board Secretary and in all school buildings. So good evening, everyone, and we'll go right to comments from the public, if there are any at this point. Okay. Oh, we do have some hands raised remotely, so I don't think there's anybody here. We'll start then with Mr. Loving. You're on with the board.
Good evening, Board of Education members. Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood resident. I would just like to go on record to state that under no circumstances would I be able to support any decision coming now or in the future made by the Ridgewood Board of Education to construct a new artificial turf field on any property owned by the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Holt, you're on with the board.
Hi, this is Carolyn Holt. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would like to ask the board to prioritize in your goals this school year to ensure the district has reliable fields which meet the needs of our students and our community. We know that we have a flooding issue at all of the village's full-size fields. 2 of them are Board of Ed assets. You completed a feasibility study which confirmed that there is no quick, easy, or cost-effective solution to stop the flooding. You need to look at and invest in an alternative field solution. All students who use fields have their seasons jeopardized by potential rainstorms and hurricanes. I appreciate and am optimistic about the personnel and service changes that you have made to improve field maintenance of grass fields, and even some of the preventative measures that you have invested in to reduce the damage of flooding at Stadium and Stevens Fields. But given the demand for field space in this village, I know that the Board of Ed grass fields will not be enough to support the demands of our high school athletics and other field-based activities like band and cheerleading if the turf fields are not available. As a recent example, you had to close and clean all of our full-size fields at the end of July due to a rainstorm. Our neighboring districts, Glen Rock, Waldwick, Northern Highlands, to name a few, have already invested in modern facilities. In all cases that I'm aware of, they upgraded to turf fields, and this gives their students a clear advantage. Our students deserve the same, or at least to have fields that are safe and reliable. With your field feasibility study completed and the school year starting in a week, I urge you to prioritize approving an alternative solution to our floodplain fields, and to consider a project to turf Benjamin Franklin Middle School field. It is the best alternative that emerged from your feasibility study. I understand that the funds may not be in the current budget, but if the Board of Ed is open to that solution, there are sports organizations and many residents who will endeavor to help to raise the funds needed for the project. We need you to make this a priority for our students and our community, and to be open to a public-private partnership to help expedite the project. Thank you.
Thank you. JH, you're on with the board now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you. My name is Jacqueline Hone. I am requesting an answer. I had written in July 15th, to the superintendent, raising concerns regarding the turf fields, and I had requested a meeting to discuss ongoing and past environmental and public health issues at Ridgewood High School and Stevens Field, and I was never granted that meeting, nor was I given a response to that. It wasn't just for myself, other concerned residents as well would like to be heard in a setting where we can discuss one-on-one and bring up our concerns other than just a short public comment. So if I could please have a response to that. I also wanted to know the feasibility study included 3 facilities, but when will the rest of those facilities also be studied? When will that be completed? And then the BF project that was just referenced, I understood that that was ready to go, and it seems to have been halted. So could we be given an update, please, as to what is going on with that project and why it was stopped? I know that there was designs and everything was ready to go, and then I expected that to happen over the summertime, and then it hasn't happened. So when will that happen, and why was that project halted? Thank you.
Thank you. Your telephone number ending in 253, or is it 252? Sorry, might be 252.
Hello?
I'm at an angle. You're on.
Hello? This is Ann Lovin. Can you hear me?
And if you could just speak up a little bit louder.
Ann Lovin. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I'm a Ridgewood resident, or a resident of what the New York Times called the sports-crazed Ridgewood, New Jersey. And I'm here to say that I hope and I trust that the Board of Ed will not put any more artificial turf down on any field at any time in the future. There are myriad reasons which we've gone over and over and over again, but I've seen chatter on social media recently indicating that maybe the board might do this. Please, no more artificial turf. We would love confirmation that you have no intention of doing so. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands up and no one at the in the audience, I'll close public comment. We'll have public comment again at the end of the meeting. Did you want to make any, or would you like to do that with your superintendent report?
I'll give it now. I can do some acknowledgement now, if
Oh,
that's
sure.
okay.
Okay.
So just want to say, I'm going to speak in very broad terms, and I'm sure this is going to be very underwhelming for folks who are invested in the topics of regarding fields and artificial turf and all that. But rather than get into a back and forth here right now, just suffice to say that we take the demand for our fields in this community very seriously. we have been working very hard to make sure that we are making the most of the fields that we have. We have been making an effort to really understand and hear the concerns of folks in the community who are opposed to any idea of additional artificial turf in the community. We also recognize that there are folks in the community who very much would like to see access to our fields expanded, including the increase in the availability of artificial turf surfaces, which could presumably expand play more. Just given the amount of conversation and consternation that's going on, I know with the village and their application for the Shedler property, and we have had a variety of people from both sides of this issue reach out to us, and we are taking everything into consideration. There is a high volume of conversation, so it's not, I can't necessarily have one-off conversations with every person who wants to have a one-off conversation. I am making my best effort to meet with groups. We had a conversation about this recently. I think it was at our facilities committee meeting. Was that when we spoke about it briefly? So I am open to meeting with groups on any side of this issue, including Green Ridgewood was referenced as a good group to meet with as well. So we're certainly open to that. I think it's important to note that right now, this is more of a topic that is being raised to the board, not so much something that is being board directed. I will give a small exception to the fact that we have been trying to figure out if there is a better way to utilize the fields that we have. So one I believe it was Mrs. Hone made a reference to a potential project that was halted. It did appear from our architectural feasibility study that there might be a chance that we could make some modifications to the BF field to have football be able to use that field also. But upon further consultation, we realized that there were some practical uses of the field by the track team that would have actually been impeded in a way that we couldn't have anticipated. So rather than impact the track program for something that was of marginal benefit to the football team based on the limitations of that field, we decided that it wasn't going to be worth the money to spend on a small modification. It was going to have more of a negative impact on one program than a benefit to another program. So that was why we decided to not proceed with that conversation. That did not involve artificial turf. It was merely a modification of the track to try to create an additional accommodation that was deemed ultimately not worthwhile. So again, I understand that there are a lot of strong feelings around this issue. So again, just want to acknowledge that. And of course, we are open and we are going to be, of course, deliberative moving forward, but we want to be responsive to the groups. And I hate to keep saying this, but at this point in time, and we'll hear these concerns. And we also heard from one of our constituents who is advocating for us to explore their options with respect to the fields. Right now, our focus with the current school year, we have a budget struck for this current year. We have a budget that we will need to build for the following year. And so we'll take all of these points into consideration. Again, as I said, I know that is underwhelming for folks, but I want to at least acknowledge people's positions and their requests at this time.
Yeah. We will go to our first presentation, Dr. Shores. Our only presentation, I'm sorry.
So first of all, I just want to say thanks everybody for being here. I look forward to giving a superintendent report in a few minutes. I'm just giving a status update on the new year. Got a lot of good things happening in the district and we're excited to share them with you. But we have a really nice presentation here. I'd like to invite Ms. Susan Nold, who is a supervisor of 612 English Language Arts, to join us up here. And is Ms. Parad, you're joining as well? So we'd like to, this is also a good opportunity for us to introduce Ms. Lee Parad. Ms. Lee Parad is taking over as the interim supervisor of language arts for 6 to 12 because Mrs. Nold, we're going to be very sad. We're going to miss her greatly, but she has had an opportunity. Life has taken her in another direction that is good for her and her family. And she has done wonderful service for the district. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity, Mrs. Nold, to thank you for all your service to the district. And even right up until some of your last hours here with us, you are coming and still doing the great work for the district. So thank you for that. And Ms. Parad, thank you for your diligence in helping to make sure that the torch is carried well and transitioned well. All right, but our presentation today is about the K-12 library media curriculum review. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Ms. Nold and Ms. Parad.
Okay.
Not yet. Okay. Welcome to the K through 12 Library and Media Curriculum and Program Review. This evaluation spans a 5-year period examining our library media program's effectiveness, relevance, and alignment with current educational standards. In this presentation, we will explore key findings, discuss areas for growth, and outline strategies to enhance our library media services for the benefit of our students and educators. We have just completed year 1 of the review, which included the program review, research, and recommendation, as well as the K through 5 curriculum rewrite and the development of the 6 through 12 informational literacy professional development. Next summer, the 6 through 12 library curriculum will be revised, and we will continue to monitor progress over the next few years. In year 1 of the research study process, the K through 12 media specialists reviewed the current library and media program offerings to determine opportunities for revision. K through 5 media specialists explored technology resources, including online encyclopedias and coding programs. The 6 through 12 media specialists surveyed staff from the middle and high schools on informational literacy and research. The K through 12 media specialists reviewed curricula to determine opportunities for development and refinement, as well as explored new books and resources and evaluated current resources to support students and teachers with information literacy. K through 5 media specialists revised curricula this summer. The 6 through 12 media specialists created information literacy professional development for 6 through 12 teachers to be delivered in 5 sessions over the 25-26 school year. As we implement the New Jersey information literacy standards across our 9 schools, our media specialists play a pivotal role in equipping students with essential 21st century skills. These professionals are instrumental in teaching students to recognize information needs, locate diverse sources, critically evaluate content, including AI-generated material, synthesize knowledge, and communicate ethically. Our media specialists collaborate across the disciplines, integrating information literacy into all subjects and fostering skills that prepare students for academic success and informed citizenship. They guide students in navigating the complex information landscape. By leveraging their expertise, we ensure our students develop the capacity to think critically, use information responsibly, and adapt to evolving technologies, skills that are crucial for their future academic and professional endeavors. We surveyed our 6 through 12 teachers to gather information on how to implement these standards at each grade level and in all subject areas. There were 87 responses. Some teachers identified with more than one subject area. Looking at the results, we can see that most teachers feel that they are teaching the information literacy standards outlined in the survey, with the standout scores for teaching skills on how to evaluate information and the ethics of citing sources. In the narrative responses, we found some interesting results. With the statement, "I routinely collaborate with the school library media specialist to support information literacy or research in the following ways," we see that teachers mostly leverage specialists to support database platforms, and curate sources for research. With the question, "In your experience, what are the most significant challenges students face when conducting research?" a big standout is 59% of the teachers surveyed felt that evaluating information was an obstacle. We know from previous questions that 89% of the teachers teach this skill. With the question, "What types of research projects or research assessments could apply to your class and subject area?" we found that teachers consider the most significant applications of these skills to be for research projects, discussions and debates, as well as slideshows and infographics. We chose a variety of disciplines and grade levels for each of these responses. There are 2 narrative responses. For this first response, there are 2 slides, and I'm going to give you a minute on each slide before I move on. The first prompt was, how often and in what capacity do your students engage in research activities or assessments? The next slide on the same prompt. How often and what capacity do your students engage in research activities and assessments? Our other free response question was, how are you and your students using AI? What opportunities and/or concerns do you see? There are 3 slides for this, and I'll pause to give you a chance to read each one. This is the second slide with the prompt. How are you and your students using AI? What opportunities and/or concerns do you see? And the last slide on this prompt. How often are you and your students using AI? What opportunities and/or concerns do you see? A summary of feedback from middle and high school teachers. They are facilitating information literacy opportunities, especially with evaluating sources and instruction on citation and ethics. They're also teaching the formation of thesis statements and seeking and organizing information. They identify the most significant challenges as students as evaluating information, perseverance, reading sources, and synthesizing information. 20 to 31% collaborate with media specialists on research skills and assignments. They consider the most significant applications of these skills to be for research projects, discussions and debates, as well as slideshows and infographics. AI is a topic of interest and concern in the research process. Our takeaways. Most teachers are including information literacy and research skills in their lessons, but they are also identifying these skills as obstacles in student learning. Media specialists can support information literacy with professional development that targets the identified skills with common language and practices that can be turnkeyed in every subject area. Some teachers are leveraging AI, and most teachers want more direct messaging on how and when to use it. Most teachers see opportunities for research and information literacy skills in assessments other than the traditional research paper. Our next steps. The K-5 media specialists have developed curricula under 4 bands: library usage, love of literature, digital citizenship, and nonfiction research. The K-5 media specialists will articulate K-12 on information literacy to provide support for students and staff. They will continue to explore updated common sense media curriculum to enhance their instruction, including over 70 digital dilemma scenarios to help students develop good routines to situations that do not have the right answer. The 6 through 12 next steps. Media specialists have developed professional development for informational literacy topics, including information tools and resources, developing questions, search strategies, and lateral reading. Media specialists will facilitate this professional development with ELA and social studies teachers in department meetings. The K-12 media specialists play a crucial role in nurturing students' passion for reading through author visits and innovative school initiatives. By facilitating meaningful interactions between students and authors, these professionals create tangible connections that inspire exploration of new genres and diverse perspectives. Media specialists also collaborate with teachers and administrators to implement comprehensive reading programs, transforming libraries into dynamic centers of learning and fostering a school-wide culture of literacy. Each year, elementary school communities read one book as a school. Staff participate by reading and recording chapters. Activities are curated and shared with parents for at-home reading and discussions, and the schools celebrate the conclusion of the reading with assemblies. The middle school 8th grade historical fiction book groups were launched to help students appreciate the merits and joys of reading and discussing books in a more informal setting. It also provides students with the opportunity to read and learn about different cultures and historical events. 10 books are selected each year to cover a broad range of voices and experiences. Students indicate their top choices. All 8th grade teachers participate along with administrators and guidance counselors, showing that we are a community of readers. Each school has curated native language books to celebrate the different cultures in their communities. Books include popular titles in native languages and books in the native language specific to a culture or identity. The libraries continue to build these collections every year. In the last few years, high school authors have included Brianna Scurry, Malika Garib, Michael McCreary, and Robin Ha. Middle school author visits have included Jennifer Nielsen, Pablo Cartaya, and Vera Haran Andani. Elementary school author visits have included Stacy McAnulty, John Para, and Elise Broach. The upcoming K-12 author visit for 25-26 is Candace Fleming. Candace Fleming's expertise in crafting engaging historical narratives and biographies aligns perfectly with our goal of inspiring students to become more proficient and passionate writers. Originally scheduled for March 2020, but postponed due to COVID-19, this rescheduled visit will ignite our students' enthusiasm for writing and research. Recommendations for 25-26. K-5 will implement and monitor the revised curriculum. They will continue to articulate between the schools and between the levels to foster a love of reading and to deepen informational literacy and research skills. 6-12 will facilitate professional development with 6-12 staff on information literacy skills. They will evaluate the professional development and adjust accordingly for 26-27, incorporating additional research skills. Next summer, they will write the 6-12 curriculum to incorporate the current informational literacy and research skills. This review has showcased the vital role our library media programs play in preparing our students for the challenges of the 21st century. By continually refining our approach to information literacy, fostering a love of reading, and adapting to emerging technologies, we are ensuring that our students are well equipped for their future academic and professional endeavors. Thank you for your attention and continued support of our library media programs.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nold, and all the efforts of all the teachers and administrators who put their time in for this review. We're very excited for the work that you have ahead of you. I know some of our board members are going to have a few questions. So actually, I'll turn it over to them first to see if they would like to ask anything. Any questions or comments?
Mary, do you have?
Sheila can see me kind of formulating a question here. So I wanted to thank you, goodness gracious. I wanted to thank you and everybody who participated in
Mary,
the
can you speak a little close? I know it's 6 inches or so,
There we
but
go. Is that better? Can you hear me now? I wanted to thank you for the presentation, for the comprehensive approach, and everybody who participated in that. Library was always my favorite place to volunteer in elementary school. So I was particularly interested, in this. I just, I the one thing that I noticed and is that, and I think you articulated, is that it's interesting because information literacy is an essential skill, right? Everywhere, science, in every part of teaching and actually in every part of life. And I did notice that some of the responses to the questions was that we had less than 40% of our teachers are utilizing the expertise of our media specialists. So I'm assuming that some of that professional development that you're talking about there and that you're planning is designed to close that gap a little bit and to make it maybe more in, uh, intertwined with an everyday experience for our teachers and our students, because I think they can only benefit from that. I see you nodding. So
Yes.
I'm assuming that you kind of agree with me on that.
So one of I think the most challenging things for teachers, they are teaching these skills. And what we're seeing is that they still have to teach these skills. There's still obstacles. So we wanted to leverage the experts that we have to actually look at the skills and to define them in the same way and to have professional development where we're talking about lateral reading as a specific skill. And as we're teaching ourselves what lateral reading is, we're actually giving the teachers the resource to transfer that same term into their teaching. So whether you're in a science class or an English class or a history class or a math class, that lateral reading means the same thing and that you're using the same strategy, and the same for evaluating sources and all of those skills. But we initially started this study looking at how to tackle the problem of the research paper or the research assignment. And once we really started to dig in, one, we have to rethink that assessment, in general, in the age that we're living in. But what we do know everyone needs to know are informational literacy skills. You need them for research, you need them for reading, you need them to exist. And so once we started to look at how to do that professional development from that lens, it became very easy to see that this wasn't a one-year project. The professional development program will probably take 3 years, and we're picking 5 skills each year. This year, we're focusing on 6 through 12 English and social studies teachers. So for 5 of their department meetings, they will be together so that the middle school English and social studies teachers will be learning these skills together. And it's set up as a 45-minute professional development where 15 minutes will be showcasing the skill, 15 minutes will be the teachers using the skill, and 15 minutes will be the teachers talking about how they could apply the skill to something they're currently teaching. And then they'll start to build this portfolio of resources. So every time they come back to that professional development, they'll review the skill that they covered before, and then they'll begin a new skill. And we're hoping that in this way, people will see that they don't have to teach a traditional research paper because we do that once a year, but that we can be incorporating research skills in every unit that we're doing. And so when we do get to that research paper, that big research assessment, that the students already have the skills and that they have the skills in every subject area and that we can do this interdisciplinary approach. So what we're hoping at the end of this first year in May is that we reflect on what skills we're working, what we still need to build, and that the media specialists will develop the program again for the following year. And it's a pretty comprehensive program that they've developed. So even though we're focusing under our umbrella of control, which is really English and history, this could be turnkeyed in other subject areas as well. And we hope it will be. Well, we hope it will be. And it also, I think people will become, to answer your first part, more comfortable with the media specialists if they haven't worked with them. This survey, we think of research as English and social studies, but this survey was including every subject area. And I do think more ELA and history teachers do leverage the media specialists, but we're hoping That's, yes, hoping that's across. the
I mean,
curriculum.
I would think especially with, when you're looking for more technical information, I noted that you had somebody who talked about it for honors chemistry and for physics and, certainly research is for everybody, right?
Mhm.
So, I just wanted to thank you for the entire thing and thank you for that answer. That's
sure.
very, very helpful to me. Now I understand it a little bit more.
Mhm.
And then, since you're here, I just want to thank you, Ms. Knoll, for everything. I know I sent you a little bit note, but, your love of reading, your love of language, your commitment to education was very, very apparent to me, the couple times that we met. And I know that it's infused our entire program. And I know that you leave us in good hands. But I just want to express my thanks to you because I have so much enjoyed, our conversations.
Thank you.
And I know, don't cry, but,
I
and
know.
I'm very happy for you.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I wanted to say, as a social studies teacher, I use the Media Center for support and research and documenting, as many of the people in the survey said. But I also know that my experience knowing people in other districts, some other districts have had to cut money and they've cut the media specialist. And I think a lot of people may, and that just pained me because I love to read. And so that one aspect, but the media center, the library isn't just for books. It is so much more. In this exploding, era of informational technology, not to be aware and how to find the latest information that's accurate with things changing all the time. I think that the media specialist is such a wonderful resource because we're always worried about our content area. And sometimes we don't spend the time learning about these other opportunities, which the specialist does. And I think that we can never underestimate the value of the media specialist. And I'm so happy that's hasn't been anything that we've ever discussed. I don't want to alarm anybody that we're talking about that, but I've saw it in neighboring districts that they don't have this resource. And I want to thank you and the community for always supporting it. And I know other teachers, especially in the social studies field, this is something we rely on tremendously. And I too worked with you indirectly through the years, and I want to thank you from the teacher perspective as well as recently being on the board and just seeing you in that capacity this way. And thank you. We wish you Godspeed and the
Thank
best
you.
of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to talk about AI for a while, for a
Yep.
minute, because this is such a fascinating era that we are living in. I think I am plowing my way through the empire of AI. Don't like Sam Altman too much. I'll just say it right then. But also there was a webcast, there was a podcast today, New York Times Daily, all about AI and the infighting that's going on and the really millions of dollars being offered to these young people coming out of college to work in these, for these companies. It is a scary process, and I sort of recall that when we began with technology, there was a lot of fear about computers and then iPads and smart boards. And the district at one point, I actually will talk about this at convocation, district at one point established a learning center for our teachers at BF. And you might remember that, right? And we tried to get all of our teachers into these courses and just to give this basis and maybe make it not quite as frightening, or to see how we use it as a tool. And that's what this is. And I see AI as a tool for educators. So what's the plan?
What's the plan? Well, that's a big, that's a big,
Yeah,
that's a big
big ask.
question. Yeah. We do have, so we have rolled out Brisk as an educational tool. We also have Gemini, which is now like a tool that our teachers are using. but we are approaching it this year from, and I'll let Lee speak too, but also in terms of bringing equity into education as a tool. How do we meet the needs of different levels of students in classes? And there are options in all of these educational AI tools that are safer. They're closed systems where you could have a math tutor who could be tutoring. Your math teacher could put a homework assignment in and assign the math tutor, and that student would be tracked in terms of what types of questions they were asking, where they struggled, how many attempts. And so the teacher could see how much information or what skills needed to be retaught, or to talk about our different tiers of support. For English, they have the writing coach, which is similar. It's a Socratic type. It's not, it won't give you a thesis statement. You can't ask direct questions like that, but you could ask a question like, I'm having difficulty starting this prompt, and it will prompt with specific questions. And you could put in a regular assignment, and you could assign the writing coach, and the teacher could see where the student is struggling. So there are opportunities. I think that ChatGPT ruined our conversation about AI and educational AI. I do think that there are companies and that there are organizations that are trying to reclaim that conversation. And I think it's terrifying and exciting at the same time. I think that the fears are real, and I think the opportunities are real. And I'll let Lee speak to this because she's going to be the one rolling it out.
I think everything that you just said, I like how you started with it's exciting to talk about, because I think AI can be exciting, but I think it's scary to so many of us because it's the unknown. It's growing faster than we can grow to understand it and apply it and find the good in it, because there's so much value in it. But I think the work that we've even done over the summer as an entire administrative team to try and grow and understand and work with this, the work that we'll be doing with our teachers, not just in our department, but across the district, is really trying to find the best ways we can use things like Brisk or Gemini or other resources that are out there, the writing coach, the math tutor, to understand it so we can see the excitement of it in a positive way to help our students and our teachers.
Yeah, because it won't go, I don't think it's going away. And really, this is our students' future. I mean, they will have it, I suspect, in almost every job, whatever job they determine that they'll do. And it will get more pervasive. So the ethical use of it, how to really know that that information is truthful. And yeah, we have law firms, we've got lawyers writing, briefs on AI with made up cases. If they don't check those cases, then what good is that brief, right? So, yeah.
It does look like the trend is moving into incorporating it into professional and educational settings. But part of that is ethical citation. If you're using it, that has now become the practice. And that's, again, the information literacy skill. AI is a component of it. But if we teach the ethics of where we got how do you know this information is correct? Where did you get it from? And cite the source, then I think we're moving in the right direction into this very unknown territory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. And Susan, thank you for the, I hope Lee, you give me my summer reading, and I'm so pleased with that. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Knoll, Ridgewood is going to miss you.
If not, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great. There was so much curriculum work that happened this summer. If you looked at the curriculum, we'll go through that, but really, thank you. So much work's going on in the district. That's all good. Dr. Schwartz, your report?
So I'm pleased to report that we seem to be in pretty good shape for our reopening of schools. We had a very busy summer, and we had tremendous projects going on with two of our schools being completely shut down for construction and a great deal of shuffling around. Our staff, our administrators, our custodians, our facilities team, principals were very flexible as we dealt with these challenges. The timelines were tight. We're going to be going on building walkthroughs tomorrow. Today we had day 2 of our retreat, and I of course pulled every principal aside and said, "How's it going? How's the building? What do you think? Are we ready?" And every single one of them looked me right in the eyes and said, yeah, no, I think we're good, which is very encouraging, because although the students coming back is important, the teachers coming back is really arguably the most important time to be ready, because they need to be able to get in their buildings and feel as though the school year is ready to go. So they're coming back on Wednesday, and I'm hopeful that in my walkings around tomorrow that my standards are met, and that we'll feel confident with our facilities. With respect to programs, to your point about curriculum, this is now my third September here in Ridgewood, and it feels really good. I think the team has done a lot of work over these last couple of years. We've done a lot of work in building the team, but I think we really have a very strong team that is very self-directed and works very well together. So we identified a variety of priorities last year through our Vision 2030 process, and also through our district goals. And we've also then, in addition to those goals, I challenged all the administrators at the end of the year last year to also just identify anything, maybe it's not even included in goals, anything that's like we don't have a good handle on, that's low-hanging fruit that we could really nail down this year and we should nail down. So in addition to the many different projects that you're hearing about, we also, the various items were selected. AI use, especially among educators, and now that Gemini is now Google has shared that Gemini is now acceptable for use in the school context for students of all school age students. We had to figure out, what does that mean for us now that we can have younger kids use AI? We also were asked by some of our HSA presidents to weigh in and maybe consider providing guidance to families about smartphones and social media, which led to a really interesting conversation, which made us real that those are actually the wrong questions. It's not about smartphones. It's really about internet connected devices and the extent to which students are given access to the internet without supervision and without restriction. So we're reframing that conversation. And I do actually anticipate that we're going to be able to give some guidance for families and best practices regarding ensuring that students are safe when they access the internet. Additionally, with respect to social media, we realized that that was also the wrong question, because some social media like YouTube can be pretty easily monitored by parents without a lot of effort and can have a tremendous innocent, relatively innocuous educational value. However, other platforms that involve this like a social interaction, virtual social interaction, we're calling it peer-to-peer interaction, is really what we're most concerned about. The maybe videos and media content that is concerning would really still fall into the category of internet access. But there's a separate and apart concern that we have about students being able to engage with strangers and peers in an unregulated virtual way. And so it's not just traditional social media, it's even like video games where kids put on headsets and they'll just play a game with strangers and they'll hear all kinds of terrible things. So there is a whole other conversation around social media that is much more than just, should my child have Instagram, right? So we're trying to reframe that conversation as well. And of course, taking age appropriateness into it. We talked about some cool alternative assessment models that for our highly effective educators that might further enhance their professional growth, and a variety of other topics. So where that ties in for all of us as board members, we're in the process of taking all of our efforts and kind of funneling them all together for and around our professional development practices, but also around the formulation of the 25-26 district goals. So last year, what we did was I brought to you an initial statement as a draft before I brought as a final deliberation with the administrative team. So on September 15th, I'll bring you a draft. The goals are going to be organized based on the 5 pillars of the Vision 2030 plan. And we'll make sure that all of your concerns, any topics that you have, I can memorialize. And then we'll go back to with the administrative team, my cabinet team here. So this Ed Center leadership team will be helping me to develop that draft that I'll bring to you. But then we'll go back to our all admin team. We'll let them choose their groups, just like we've always done. We'll form goal committees. and they will make sure that we memorialize all the different things that we're doing and the ambitions that we have for the record. So you can all see what those action plans are for those goals. And then I'll ask you to approve those goals at the October 6th meeting.
And if you recall, we discussed in the spring about a regular reporting out.
Yeah, of the Vision 2030.
On the goals. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're still brainstorming how we are going to actually represent progress. We want to be able to have that on the website as well, like some sort of representation. We haven't really been happy with like the dashboards that we've seen. So we're exploring a couple different options right now, but we really would like our progress to be very clear.
Great.
And then lastly, I would just say we have two of our student liaisons here, two of our representatives. We have Eli Delatorre. Nice to see you, Eli. Thanks for being here. And we also have Grace Kim. So thank you guys. You guys are really overachievers getting here early before the school year even starts. So thank you for your time. I know you've been busy this summer. It's really nice to have you out today. And Eli even made an appearance at Superintendent Coffee last Thursday. So thank you for that, Eli. And I would end on Superintendent Coffee. We had our meeting last Thursday. We had some really interesting conversations. Of course, people asked questions. We talked about AI. People had questions about everything from, well, we didn't have a ton of questions, but we had some questions about staff absences. We had a question about how we cover staff absences at the high school, about Chromebooks. So whenever we get those questions, we take them in, we share them with the team, and then we report out on them. So at our next coffee, I'll be reporting out on some of those responses, and that will be on September 11th. So if any of you are free on that Thursday, we invite you to join us for the superintendent coffee on that day. I think that would, and unless you have any questions, that would conclude my superintendent report for tonight.
Okay, great. Any questions?
Dr. Schwartz, just on the coffee, are the coffee, superintendent coffee, are they every month or alternate months or?
They are every month.
They're every month. And are they open, like from invitation perspective, does the invitation go to the community members or only parents of school?
Well, it's open to everyone. In terms of our push notice, I'm not, how broad does our push notice go? And do we have the ability for people to request to be part of a distribution list?
Through the
Sure. Yeah, it can be hard to regulate. I know I've been there before. All right. And is that the spirit of your question? To the extent?
That does actually make it more confusing for me because I have email addresses that are subscribed to the district newsletter, and those newsletters I have received superintendent coffee intermittently on some months. So for like February, April, and June. So I don't know if there was a meeting in March, there was a meeting in May.
Yeah, so I apologize if
Right.
I don't have an answer for you based on the question we had over email. I'm not
Right.
sure why that's been happening. We have to figure that out.
So I have different email addresses that are subscribed to different things, and
Yeah.
we always had a community email list that you could subscribe to for receiving the board meetings, right?
Mhm.
Board meeting notices. Or Dr. Fishbein used to send a letter to the community, and that he even had a column in Ridgewood News. It was addressed to the whole community. During COVID, there were a lot of community newsletters that went from schools. So the school district has a list that is used for Board of Ed meetings and other stuff. So that is not just the parents, right? So that I have email addresses on that list, and those email addresses have received intermittently the coffee invites. So that's why I want to understand who is supposed to get the coffee invites, and if community members are not, why not?
Yeah, and I don't know if I responded to your email earlier that I misunderstood your initial question. I think I understand that now. So we're happy to be able to get you an answer for that. The spirit of it is transparency and welcome and inclusion. So folks should be welcome to come. And in the meantime, in the interim, while we get the communication network straightened out, all of the coffees are on the district website. So if anybody's interested, they can certainly go see them on the district website too.
Right, but
And they're
district
posted
web-
on Facebook too. It's posted on Facebook too.
Right, but I
Yeah.
think
I just,
so. You're missing the point. If we are arguing or debating that if they are posted on the website and Facebook, then we don't need push notification.
No.
Then we don't need push notification for anybody.
Oh, the push notification is, so the vision in my mind,
Right.
the vision for the push notification is just an added courtesy. It's not meant to be the primary way that people hear about it.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but either it's going to all of the members or not going to all of them. But that's why I'm trying to understand the rationale for select. If somebody does not want to subscribe, they would not subscribe to Board of Ed mailing lists or anything, or not some months and not all months.
No, I understand that.
So-
I understand that your question is generally about, because we've changed our communication systems multiple times.
Right.
And there are different ways to even calibrate them, and then they sync with our student information system. We also don't necessarily have address and contact information for everybody in the community. So I'm not going to be able to answer your questions about how the communication, what the capability is of the systems just right now.
Not capability, the spirit, that if the spirit is to invite the community members to your coffee, should that notification be going out to everybody who is registered for Board of Ed meeting emails? So that their agenda email goes out to a wider list. Should the coffee invite be going to all of them or not, from your perspective? If we have a list.
Like, who's the target audience of the
Coffee.
superintendent coffee
Yes.
reminders?
Yeah.
I haven't honestly even thought about that. So
Okay.
I will consider that and get back to you.
Okay.
But in the meantime, the spirit of the superintendent coffee in general is that anyone who is a resident of the community, I mean, frankly, we even sometimes have people who aren't even residents of the community come on just because actually, I don't know if we've had that here very much, but I had that in my last district because people were just interested. So I do treat it as open to the public.
Right.
But of course, it is not an open public meeting because there's no actual determinations that are made. So I do reserve the right to regulate this conversation as needed. But generally speaking, we keep it pretty open. So I would encourage folks who want to come and speak, they're welcome to be there.
Sure. And on the reminders also, whatever is the policy, I just want to understand the intent and the policy. So it's consistently followed, right? And then for the Board of Ed notifications, for meeting notifications, where can residents sign up?
For Board of Ed meaning the reminders.
The meeting reminders, the agenda, the meeting summaries.
So yeah, so our official communications and advertisements are the papers that we advertise in the website. But you're saying specifically those courtesy notifications that we put out.
Right. So we send out emails to the community, that reminder email that goes out on Friday. That's actually part of the bylaw 164, that an email will be sent out to the community on Friday evening. So it's not, that Friday email is not that courtesy. I think Friday email and maybe the Monday email is also part of that bylaw 164. And then a summary goes out after the meeting, 2 days after the meeting. That is a courtesy. That is not part of any bylaw. So our bylaw 164, which we are modifying today, I think it mentions that an email will be sent out to the community on Friday night and Monday morning.
So
how
I'd have to look at the origins of that language specifically,
Right.
like
So how
what
can
that
somebody
has
sign up?
interpreted.
How can
Yeah.
anybody else sign up for that?
Yeah, so I got you. Okay. All right, we'll get your response to that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to some reports out on the board committees that met in August. The first one up is finance. Mary, did you want to bring anything up?
Yeah, sure. So just a couple, actually, we did quite a bit in finance. Just very briefly, and most of this is on tonight's agenda. So we reviewed and we approved finance the shared services agreement with the village regarding the SROs, just increasing their salary from $40 an hour to $42 an hour. That was recommended by Dr. Schwartz. Apparently, we've lost a couple of officers to other higher paying districts. So that was the rationale there. Changing the third-party administrator for our 403B and 457B funds to PennServe, that's also on the agenda tonight.
Can I ask a question on that?
On which one?
On the administrator, the 401, 3 and 4.
Yes, and I will do my best to answer it, and Rich will back me up.
Yes. So that is on the agenda, but it doesn't list any financial amounts. So it just says that it's the agenda item that we are voting on today, finance number 4. And it basically just lists the vendor name, PennServe Plan Services. So should we be listing the amounts, financial commitments in the public agenda, or are they changing from when we are changing the administrator, or they just get a ratio or percent of the funds, or but then it will not be going from the Board of Ed, but it would be going from employees' contributions. So is that changing? Like, what's the financial impact of this change? Okay,
So does it?
no worries. Yeah, so the reason, Rich, I wanted to bring it up is sometimes they don't, the brokers or financial institutions don't change what they are charging to the district, but sometimes their management fee can be different on the fund, right? The fund management fee or on
So,
employees, if there is any impact.
So I'm looking at the proposal.
Okay.
And the proposal, and let me just finish one thing, which is to say that the reason for the change was it was recommended by the business administrator because I guess there were some concerns with the prior TPA over their responsiveness.
Okay.
And so the idea was, after interviewing a couple of different TPAs, that this particular entity would be able to be more responsive, would make transfers more quickly, and would have better customer service.
Perfect.
So that was the rationale for that. I'm looking now at the fee estimate, and what I see, and Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see that the takeover plan implementation fee was waived, and the annual fees were waived. Participant fees, it says at 38, and I don't know, that's 38%. But I just wanted to,
$38?
those one-time fees were waived.
Okay.
So I did want to at least give you that information. And then I think Rich is going to have to really,
Okay, so the participant fee is so if that impacts employees, is there any change in like sidebar or anything needed there or not?
so it's a good question. All right, so
I'm gonna jump in because I've been part of
Is your
the
mic
conversation
on?
slightly. Yeah, it is. I'm trying not to get too close. That's just like a skill, right? Jason, we need a course on microphone usage. So with the TPA, one, we were receiving numerous complaints year over year since I've gotten here from the REA, from many of our members, that investments weren't making it into the accounts. They were being very delayed, and our staff are aware. They're looking at that. And so it's not right. You're investing your money and then you have to wait for a month to gain any interest on that money that you're trying to invest. It's a problem, right? Very big problem. So that's one of the reasons why we switched. I believe the participant fees are not actually referring to our staff, referring to the companies that participate. So you have to remember, you have a TPA because they monitor the IRS process for us. They make sure that we stay compliant with all the IRS. I'm doing intervention
Yeah.
referral services stuff. The IRS, the Internal Revenue Services.
Yes.
So, yeah, so there's some transaction processing that goes along with
So they're
that.
probably making money on the interest when they keep the money during transfer. Probably.
Yeah, there's some piece. I
Okay.
don't know the exact mechanics, but there's really no fee to us. The only time there would be a fee to us is if we ask them to do a major review of our service agreements with the 403B providers that work with us in the district.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry for interruption.
Glad you asked the question. It was useful. Okay, so just to continue along, we have a nice big donation from the RHS Band Association, which I know that our president will acknowledge later. But that was in finance. This year, the business office went out for bid for field trip transportation, and we got 2 bids for those. That's significantly going to help, especially the
Yeah.
HSAs that are paying for the field trip costs. As a matter of fact, someone I know who is a prior HSA president texted me, I think the agenda went out, what, Friday night, and I got something like 7:30, 8 o'clock on Friday night from somebody telling me that, quote, "This is huge," and was very appreciative of the money that's going to be saved as a result of going out to bid. So I just wanted to make that acknowledgement and let you know over at the business office that your work is being appreciated. 2 other things. We talked a little bit about the state health plan and the fact that they're talking about a 30% increase. That's unacceptable. So we're looking at alternatives, more to come on that. We're looking aggressively at other alternatives. I think that's a fair way to put it. And then finally, we had a pretty robust discussion on flood insurance. So just to give a little bit of background, 2 years ago, we learned that our stadium, RHS Stadium Field and Stevens Field, which by the way includes the bridge, the bleachers, the lights, all the lights, all the accoutrements of the fields, that the flood insurance for that, which we had been paying for and been getting with a $50,000 deductible, was going up to a $500,000 deductible, which is significant. That number is determined by FEMA, I've learned. And that, we're liable then, we're not insured for any damage at those fields up to $500,000. So the business office charged our insurance broker to go out and take a look to see if we could get some insurance to cover that gap. And we do have under consideration a flood insurance policy, which would just insure the stadium in Stevens Field, the bleachers, the lights, the bridge, with a deductible of, so from 50,000 up to $500,000. So with having only a $50,000 deductible would be $70,000 annually, the premium for that. And if we were looking for $100,000 deductible, it would be $60,000 a year annually. So there was quite a bit of discussion about that. And the one thing that I noted was that when we went back and looked at the loss information from the past 5 years, we have had a flooding event where our costs have come close to $50,000. And certainly a few where they've exceeded it substantially every year for the past 5 years. So that's something, what, you're going to correct me? I misstated.
It was on average, it was more than 1 flood a year, but we've been alternating years that we've been experiencing
Last
flood.
year we had no flood.
So no flooding, 3 years flooding.
No, okay. I thought 2024, we actually had a flood, but the reason it was kind of combined with the big one from 2023.
We did, that's right.
So
But
it's still
when we were talked about the every year, no, it was actually, we were just saying, if you take the on years and the off years and you average them for mathematical purposes, for considering
Yeah.
actual costs.
Oh, that was
The average was a little bit more than
Was the
1 a
number.
year. But we've been alternating years for the past 6 years where we have multiple floods or a singular flood, and then we have no floods.
I misunderstood. I thought that there was actually a flooding event.
I only bring it up because you're speaking you're representing the meeting very well, and I don't want people to think that
No, I want to be
misspoken.
corrected if I
Yeah.
say it incorrectly. I mean, the important thing is to get the information out there. So I appreciate that.
But is it,
In-
the $50,000 or those numbers, are they calendar year or school year?
Well, that was the other thing. I think that it's our fiscal year.
So then
So that's why,
then
and I
its
was,
statement is correct that it's alternating.
that's right. And I was thinking calendar year. That's correct.
Yes.
The bottom
Oh,
line
yes,
is
yeah.
that we've had, I think it's fair to say, the bottom line is that we've had substantial costs associated with flooding at the fields on a fairly regular basis, and that it's certainly worthwhile to consider insuring that loss or insuring against that loss so that we save the district some money, right? To the extent that we can.
So the deductible is for each event
Is
Okay.
$50,000.
for both fields.
Correct. So
Okay.
that was something that we confirmed, is that it's per occurrence. So one flood damaging 2 fields is still a $50,000 deductible, not 50 times 2.
Right, okay.
So it's all considered, that whole area is basically considered one location that's insured. I think that's right.
So
one
for
way
a
to put it.
$50,000 deductible, our premium is 50,000?
No, our premium for a $50,000 deductible, our premium is $70,000 a year.
Okay.
And for $100,000 deductible, it goes down to $60,000. a
And
year.
right now it's 500,000 deductible. So for how much is the premium for that?
Well, I mean, I think that's lumped into the rest of our insurance, which is, I think our premium's over $1 million.
It's just for the stuff that's in flood zone A, the bleachers, the lights, the bridge.
And the
and turf
fields.
fields, yes.
So we are saying if we want to change from 500,000 to
We
100,000,
still have it no matter what.
500,000 we have it.
Yes,
If you want to change that to 100,000 deductible, we have to pay 70,000 premium,
50,000,
60,000 premium. In addition to what we are paying,
right.
right? So 60,000 is
Right.
in addition to what we are
Right.
already paying.
Oh, in addition. It's
No,
in
this is-
addition to
the way-
the.
This is, a
okay,
new-
this
the way
is
I
like
look at
a-
it, it's another insurance policy.
I got it.
So rather than being exposed up to $500,000, we're now only, if we were to buy it, we would only be exposed up to 50 per occurrence.
Right. And
It-
plus the,
It's like the
Plus-
gap insurance.
Yeah, that's exactly
the
what it
gap.
is. It's covering the $500,000 exposure that we have
Mm.
based on the assessment of the zones.
Right. So if we commit to 60,000 or $70,000 a year as a gap insurance, does that impact our ability to pick the vendors and timeline to get it fixed once there's a flood event?
So that's a good
Now,
question.
we're actually doing
think
it,
so.
we're doing an RFP to go out there and be able to pick the companies that can do the restoration for the filter and cleanup. So the RFP should be going out probably within the next couple of weeks for that work.
But the insurance company doesn't dictate the vendor in
No.
that case?
It's a reimbursement,
No.
right?
Like for my car, if I have to go to insurance companies, approved vendors and
Yeah.
their assessor has to come, because I think even when we made the claim last time, the assessor came before we could start the renovation or repair work.
In this recent storm, we were green lighted to just immediately begin cleanup.
But we don't have insurance.
The county's gonna give us the okay to go ahead and procure from whomever, but we actually are gonna do an RFP so we can actually be able to pick and choose companies that give us the best price and the best deal. So we're doing the RFP for restoration services for the fields. We were lucky that we got under the threshold with the last company that we chose. But in the future, we might get something over $53,000, and now we gotta go out and do competitive bidding, so we're doing that now so that we have it already in place.
Right, so Rich, you're talking about the bid threshold of 42,000 or now $50,000, right? For us to go out and do the work without bidding. I'm talking about if insurance company is also involved, is there a change in that process?
Oh, you're saying, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you're saying.
Nobody's-
You're saying if there's a major flood event that will clearly we'll be filing a claim.
Yes, more than.
Yeah, yeah. Are we going to be constrained with who we can use? Meaning, we'll get an answer to that. I would be inclined to say no, because there are so few vendors. And if I recall last time, we did not get any specific guidance about which vendor to use when we did file a claim. So that was in prior years. But we will please, can you make a note of that, Mr. Matthews, and we'll
Yeah.
just confirm that?
I mean, this is just a question. The last time that we did it, we paid the money out and then the insurance carrier reimbursed us, right? And I know, like, when you're talking about cars, usually what happens is you drop it off and you don't even see the money change hands, right? You just get a fixed car back.
Right.
So that is a good question, though, just to confirm that the carrier would not control the repair, which is what we want to make sure to protect ourselves. The only other thing that's out
and,
there.
and just on that is, there is no restriction on applying for FEMA if the governor has declared a state of emergency.
That's exactly where I was
That's
going with
another
that.
note that we have also, that we can also apply for FEMA for this event.
For up to, and we could apply for FEMA up to the 50,000 to arguably make whole,
Right.
assuming, and if we were not to get the insurance, which I'm not inclined to do, but if we were not to get the insurance, we always have FEMA.
Yeah.
But FEMA is as reliable as FEMA is at any
Yeah.
given day.
I mean,
I'm
it's
just gonna put it
it's
that
a
way.
reimbursement.
It's a reimbursement
And
after
a
the
long
fact,
wait.
and a very long wait. Like, I think the risk manager was telling us, like, she had one claim was 5 years.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
in any event, that was a discussion and I think something we should seriously.
So do we have a sense of, are we moving forward with that? Do you still have more work to do, more discussion?
So my takeaway from that conversation, we didn't have an official takeaway except that we needed to discuss it more. But we did talk about it on both sides. And I believe, if I remember correctly, Ms. McCall, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that that it was mathematically, it made sense to go one way or the other. But the reality is that in a more of a worst case scenario where we did have a significant flood event, that we'd all feel better having paid for the insurance and then
think
knowing that we would be covered. Is
Yeah.
that a fair representation?
Very much so. It was one of those things where, you know, I had to think about it a little bit personally just to make sure. But I think the consensus was exactly what you said, that it's worthwhile to protect ourselves from from catastrophic financial loss potentially. Maybe
Yeah.
catastrophic's the wrong word, but
Yeah.
Does this require a board resolution?
We'll find that out,
Okay.
but I'd love to know if
We have to
just
find out.
just through y'all verbally indicating if that's something that you're supportive of. If you're
Yeah.
comfortable giving me a nod on that at this time.
Yes,
yeah, because
Okay.
the other thing is I want to know.
we'll
how
find
long
out
that
the
quote
answer
lasts.
to,
I don't want the quote for the premium to expire,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So
So-
to me,
so
it's better to, if
some-
we can.
So my takeaway from this conversation is that we will we will respond with interest in moving forward. And I'll bring, and if it's something that we can initiate, then I'll initiate that if I'm if that's something that fits within my purview. If there's action required by the board, then we'll bring it to you on the 15th.
great.
The next meeting.
And that
The
was,
effective date will be the signing of the contract.
Board approval, yes, we'll probably make it effective on, like. I'll check on the anniversary dates for the contract. I'll check with that tomorrow.
So we'll just have to go and hold the floods for.
that
more-
that's
few
the
more
that
weeks.
stresses me out. That's what I'm thinking.
So we're leaning toward the $70,000 at the meeting.
The yeah, I
70,000,
think
yeah.
it was the $50,000.
We wanted to
deductible,
purchase the
$50,000.
$50,000 deductible.
$50,000.
Yeah,
Yes,
great.
Because it seems to me that it's either a little above 50 or, 100,000. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, I think that the 50,000
50 makes sense.
deductible makes more sense, yeah. Okay, so facilities,
There's one more question on the finance, sorry. Did you guys discuss the solid waste and recycling collection bid?
Solid waste.
Solid waste and
Was that
recycling?
facilities, or was it in finance?
it's in finance, and there wasn't much to discuss because I think we only had one person respond to the bid.
Interstate, you only
Interstate.
had one was Interstate, and their proposal was for like $109,000.
Yep.
Last year, we paid about $117. That was through the contract and emergency requests coming from the field, which is something we eliminated for 25, 26. We actually had custodians contacting the waste company to come and make pickups. So we've actually addressed that, and we're stopping that. So the contract for solid waste is, I think, $109,000 for this coming year. And last year we spent, I think it was $117.
So, so
I
far,
don't know.
for last several years, we've been doing it annually. Is there a specific reason to go 3 years this time?
Yeah, it's three-year contract. For this year it's 109,000, next year's 112, and 27-20 is 115. But we spent $117,000 in 24-25. The contract was like 98,000. We spent 92,000 in the contract. As I said, was spent like over $25,000 in just extra calls coming from the field, which was just something that we've addressed that can no longer happen. So it's
I think
contract for
that
25,
your-
26,
your
109,000.
question is, why is it a 3-year contract rather than a
If
1-year?
we only had one bid, then why are we signing 3 years? And do we have from Sheila, your meetings with the village, do we have a definite no from the village for any interest in providing,
At this point, it wouldn't be cost effective to be with the village.
even for recycling and food waste?
Well,
So-
food waste is different.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you have.
Oh, well, so Keith Kasmark did indicate clearly that they would not be able to build out their services in a way that would be competitive with this particular price quote. So right now, our avenue in an attempt for cost savings is to cooperate for, with respect to a food waste particularly. So when we're hopeful that in being more effective with our food waste management, that we might be able to actually reduce some of our charge on the garbage as well and reducing the weight of garbage. But your question about should it be 1 year or 3 years? That's a fine question.
Or a question is, if we are still working on finding a solution for food waste, why are we committing to 3 years, right? Because
that's fair.
if we anticipate that cost may go down, how will that impact garbage? How much? I don't know the quantity. Like, one is the environmental benefit,
That's actually a fair point.
and the other one is a
Yeah, like if we're hopeful that that our poundage would go down.
right. And
But-
the recycling, they said they cannot pick recycling
Is
because village can make money on recycle.
they're not, and my understanding, I can't speak for them. My understanding is that the conversation around them providing us that service was that if there's a feasibility of us being able to have a partnership that was favorable to both parties,
Right.
then they would invest in the trucks that were needed in the infrastructure. What was explained to us and what I think their working hypothesis is that some of these waste management firms, they have access to their own landfills and their own places and so they control both sides, both the pickup and where they go. Whereas the village, it would not be able to potentially get the same level of discount. They'd have to just pay the rate. They don't own landfills.
So I get that for the garbage. So garbage, they don't have the capability for the trucks to pick the containers, and they don't have their own landfill. So that's why they are in this competitive disadvantage. But the food management was one part, and the other is recycling.
Yeah, I don't
The
have an answer for that.
recycling is, and like, for example, cardboard. So we don't put cardboards in a container that can be pulled automatically. And if village picks up that cardboard, they can actually sell it. Same with the recycling. If I think for each school, we have 50-50. We have half of them is garbage and half of them approximately recycling containers. So if recycling containers are not the kind that can be pulled through the truck directly, then can village pick up recycle and actually sell and make money?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
I just know that there was not something that they felt was going to be, they would offer.
The only thing that looked like there was a possibility is food.
Right.
And it would be a slow start to that to see, and of course you have to work with Pumptonian and you have to separate out. So the garbage is important, how students, toss their lunch and the food, right? So, I don't see it as an immediate, something that's going to happen immediately, but I think it's something that we both wanted to work on, right?
Oh,
Food, yeah.
absolutely. I don't have a timeline or even a projection if it would actually go down. Mr. Matthews, do you have any commentary regarding the decision to go from 3 years or 1 year? Is that something that was there specific
That was
advantage to having 3
something
years?
that me and Aaron talked about because we know that the competition is very limited and we just wanted to secure somebody for 3 years because.
Because the
again,
rate was good.
We only got one bid.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it's been going for, in my history, his history. We just didn't want to keep going out every year and having the price really escalate on a 1 year contract.
Yeah, when there's only one bid, then theoretically the next time around, they could just,
A big jump.
it could be a big jump. Yeah.
And this is just, if we were to engage with the village and on food waste and the poundage went down, because that's the advantage, would that impact their pricing? I mean, if they were picking up less,
I mean,
is there a way to
Negotiate
define,
with
is there
them?
any
this can be
flexibility?
negotiated. This doesn't have to go to OSC. This is not that big of a contract that we can't contact interstate and negotiate with them regarding having less tonnage.
I think these are by number of containers that they have provided. So if it's just going to reduce the total poundage, then it may not change. I think it's the container, the volume right? So they are just giving us a container and
Well,
we would want to,
My understanding is that the projection is based on tonnage.
right?
Right, so we have some data, I'm assuming, actually, I don't want to make too many assumptions here. But, you know, there has to be a calculation based on how much we need, so I'm saying tonnage, but it's volume and mass.
Right.
Total of what we need, so if we're reducing the overall volume and mass, then it will need fewer containers, and we should stand to save, but they have to quote us on something, and that we're not I don't think this year particularly we're going to be able to show much for it. We don't have anything in place just yet. This is really a pipe dream that has not gotten anywhere. We were talking, was it with the sustainability group that we were talking about this? Just how hard it is to get people to appropriately, especially in a school, to appropriately comply with the expectations around food waste. Like, it takes an effort, and you know, kids are busy and they're moving quick, and often they're just dumping food. And sometimes if we're not being careful, if we're not being really meticulous, you know, sometimes people, like, you know, we all do it. Like, you go to the garbage and there's like the 3 different types and you're moving fast, like you don't even stop, and you throw it. And how often do you throw it? And you're like, oh, that was the wrong one. So we can't do that.
I think
For
you
the
would
store.
be careful with that, because I mean, I think the majority of your food waste, I could be wrong, but I think it's probably the elementary schools. And I just remember, when my kids were at Ridge, they tried to teach the kids the proper way, and they actually had like it's gross, a slop bucket, like in the middle, right, for the liquid waste. And you're nodding over there. And then they had like the solids bucket. You couldn't, you couldn't get the parents to supervise the kids because it was so gross. And I'm being honest with you. And I mean, like, you know, and I was like, it's just the way it was. But my point, the reason why I raise this is not just for, you know, laughs, but to say that I think there may be a practical concern about whether or not we can sufficiently reduce our food waste to the point where it makes a financial difference to us. Having said that, if we can negotiate even a high-low in years 2 and 3 in the agreement and preserve, you know, the top number, and see if we can get some kind of credits or something if we do, you know, succeed in this, I think that would be a good thing to try to do. But that's just, you know,
Well,
there's a lot that goes into it.
You're requesting 3 years, but it is not, we are, if the situation changed, you feel we could negotiate.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. So facilities, so Rob, did you want to report out?
No, you can do that.
Okay. On facilities, then, thank you to the Ridgewood High School HSA Little Theater donation. New carpet is being installed. So that's, that will be nice for the Little Theater. We had an update on the water infrastructure improvement grant application that is due at the end of this month. Are we on target to,
She's back today. It's not submitted yet.
but we have to the
The
31st.
31st, yes, we're on target, yes.
So we're on that. New carpet, you will see it at some point at the Ed Center. It'll be a surprise for some of us. The color. The BF, the filming at BF Netflix filming at BF has wrapped up now. Good news, Glen and Ridge HVAC projects are on time, and
Phase
they,
two.
Pardon?
They're in phase 2 now.
okay,
Phase 2 starts today, right? They're working at nights in the buildings at nights. There's no impact on instruction.
right. And as you recall that we were looking for going to put out a bid for windows at both, new windows at both Ridge and Glen. And those RFPs will go out in the end of September.
It's gonna go out for 4 weeks now, not 2 weeks. So
Okay.
the award date will be probably October timeframe, October meeting.
Okay, maybe the second meeting in October, we'll
Yeah.
be looking at that. And that would be done, as we've done other schools, you can do that. You would take out windows and only take out the windows that you can get replaced at night. And we certainly did that at BF and Somerville successfully in years past. Let's see what else. The RHS wood shop dust collector, that project is complete. And the Ed Center transformer, you will see that the ballards are in place. We are going to be looking at our solar energy and the solar panels that are on our roof. They've some at the end of this year will be at the end of the contract, which was 15 years. So we'll be looking at how to move forward. And the roundabout at Beverly is in place, which was put in by the village. Thank you to the village of Ridgewood for doing that. They really did a great job, I think, in communicating to the Ridgewood High School community on Beverly and bringing them in and talking through and listening to ideas. And it's ready to go. It's in place. I understand that probably will be involved in the beautification.
That's right.
In the
That's the
middle.
next step for us, and we're managing beautification. I know Mr. Higgins is working on that.
And the Orchard outdoor classroom has been completed also. So a lot of projects were, and the board has some walkthroughs scheduled for this week to see some of the facility.
Sheila, since you mentioned that some of the solar leases are coming for an end at the end of this year,
Yes.
so which schools are coming to the end for this year? 2027, right? So we have time. Okay. Yeah. So there is one. That's first thing that let's I requested that what is the earliest expiration date and what is the actual expiration date for all these schools,
Is it,
so that way we can plan.
there are some that are 2026, aren't there? No, 27. Oh. Yeah. Oh, because that's the sheet I have that says 26. Oh, so I haven't seen the updated. Okay, I haven't
But
seen the updated.
sorry, but are we going by what the vendor told us, or are we going by, but did we look at the actual contracts that we have?
We'll review it at our next facilities
Okay.
meeting. Yeah.
Right. So the gist of the discussion was, from my perspective at least, there may be different opinion on that, but from my perspective on the facilities committee, my opinion on that is 15 years ago, the technology was different. Today, the technology is different. So on each square inch, we can generate more electricity. So we need to carefully plan whether we want to renew the current contracts, because the current contracts say the vendor is supposed to remove the panels once the contract ends. So the cost to remove the panels is on to them, right? So after that, they can just leave all the rails there. They may not fix the roof or everything, but they should not leave anything with leaks. So at that point, we have two options. Either we ask the vendor to continue to keep providing us that color electricity at some rate. So what should that rate be? How much discount can we get from them? Because they have a cost to remove them, right? Or we spend some money as a new seed money, initial money to install new panels there, which will have more electricity generated per square inch or per square foot. So either we can invest some money and generate more electricity, or we can renegotiate the rates with the vendor, because for them, they will have to invest money to remove it, or they have no use of those panels. Once they remove those panels and inverters, they cannot sell it. That's the spirit there. So we need to figure out exactly when it's coming for a renewal and work on that so we have enough time. So if there is any confusion on the date, we should actually look at the contracts.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, your point is that the district has some leverage here
Yes.
in the fact that that they would have to come and pick up the panels and make sure the roofs aren't leaking in the process of doing so, so we wouldn't be left in the lurch. Maybe not so pretty, but we
Correct.
wouldn't be left in the lurch. Because they're so old, they wouldn't have, we're hypothesizing that they wouldn't have the ability to use these. So they would basically just have to come pay a lot of money to get rid of them. And so they'd be at a loss if we didn't end beyond just simply walking away. They would actually have an affirmative action they'd have to take.
Correct.
Therefore, we as a district have some leverage to negotiate either upgraded panels or a better arrangement.
Yes.
Is that right?
So that is one part. The second part is, even then we should look at whether it makes sense to leverage it, get that new rate, or upgrade to latest technology, which will generate more electricity because we can use more solar if electricity rates are still going up, right? So that's second point. And the third point is, are the panels working? And are they generating electricity for which we are paying them? So are we checking that? So that was another open question there, that are they all working in all schools? And is anybody cross-checking the billing, that whatever they are billing us, that much electricity is being generated?
So so again, so that last question
Right.
is specifically about,
Yep.
it's about what are we actually getting out of the panels that we have?
Yeah.
Meaning, to what extent are they functioning, and to what extent can we see an impact on our energy costs?
Correct. Because currently we are in a contract with them. So if any of those panels are not working, then they need to come and fix them.
Because we did not purchase the panels, we're leasing them.
Right, but as part of the lease, we are
Yes,
there is
they are-
some commitment or the, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, meaning we didn't, it wasn't like a lease purchase, and now they're like, they're a service provider. They actually are the owners.
Yes.
Yes, and they're supposed to maintain them.
And then for the Little Theater, we also discussed, Mary, I don't know if you remember, Gail McCarthy came once here when she was the president. Right?
She said that stage needed a little love. That's
Yes.
exactly what she said, and I've been waiting. Yep. Did you talk about that?
Yeah, once they are done. Right?
Okay.
I'm sorry, but
No, we were just waiting for you to finish the conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we talked about, so Gail came here when she was retiring from the president, and she said the stage needed some love because there was some risk there. It's expanded. So we did talk about that, and we requested the facilities team to actually go and review that stage. We had requested that from the previous team, but that team is now gone. So the new team will go and review that just to make sure that there's no risk there for students or who is performing, and so that stage will be looked at. So we did talk about that one. I don't remember all the points that Gail mentioned, but I remember the stage.
Saying that very specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the third one, we did discuss the BF field. So Sheila, you want to comment on the facilities committee discussion on this BF, that what the school's position is, what we are doing there? Because I remember the last time at the open public meeting here, you mentioned that we were working on a grass field, right? So that was the statement you had made at around May or June. So is there any change in that? What's the current position of the district? And also, as a follow-up, as a resident, I attended meeting of SHPO last week, and there SHPO asked the village that, are you working with the school district and neighboring nearby communities or not? So has anybody from the village reached out to you during your meetings with the village manager and mayor about working in collaboration for coming out with an overall field plan or field improvement plans? So and this is a second part question, because this was after the fields committee meeting, right? So at the meeting, we did discuss the BF field, and so
we discussed the
right.
BF field, that the field was not up to the shape that we had anticipated, that there were some dry spots in it, that So that was, what, October 15th, maybe is our, what was our meeting date? October 18th, August, sorry, August 18th. But today when I went by BF, there was soccer being played on it. It looked like, I'm not sure what grade group. So there is play on that field right now. Tomorrow we're going to visit BF, so we'll get a firsthand look at that field. But I don't have any more information on BF at this point, other than we have a commitment from Manila to work on all of our grass fields. And if my memory serves me right, there are some grass fields where you have seen improvements currently, right? Just not at BF.
So I think the BF field, we talked about the different zones and the water restrictions that we were under. And I think Dave was gonna look and talk to the guy from Ridgewood Water regarding expanding some of those possible restrictions and reducing some of those zones from 15 to 4, so we can have better water coverage. So I'm not quite sure where we are with that. Yeah, we met last week, so.
Okay. Yes, I mean, that is the hope, that we will be able to improve our grass fields. But we have to monitor use. And we'll have to see how that goes. I don't know the intensity of utilization at BF, the anticipated utilization of it. I don't know if you had any more.
Well, I mean,
Our students use it, obviously, and high school.
we've covered a lot of topics here.
Yeah.
What is there a specific question or?
No, that I was not referring to that one, but that was a good reminder that we did talk about the current condition, and Dr. Schwartz actually did a walkthrough himself and identified those dry spots and put the vendor on spot that he needs to fix that. So that's a good reminder. I forgot about that one. I was asking more about the whole discussion about expanding the current BF field for utilization by more teams, because so that's what I had expressed at the facilities committee meeting, that I'm still not clear myself that we originated a study. We paid the architect money for a study. We did this study that whether the current field can be expanded for playing other sports when there is a flood event at high school. We came out of that study and we said, yes, the field can be expanded by making some track changes and some changes. So there were two different versions. One was a bigger expansion, one was a smaller expansion. Then at the facilities committee meeting, we discussed that we will right now go with the smaller version. And then that's what you had communicated at the meeting a couple of months ago, that we are going with the expanded grass field option. And then we did not go that route. So what I expressed at the facilities committee meeting is I'm not sure why we did not do that right yet.
Well,
No, that's what I spoke of. That's what I just spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
So you spoke that the same thing at that facilities committee meeting also, but I'm still saying that I'm not clear, because if track team had a reservation, that reservation we knew since going in.
We've
Right.
talked about this multiple times. To be
Right.
clear, we developed a projection of what was feasible based on all the measurements of the field and based on what the regulation measurements were for, particularly this is the javelin throw. And there was a projection that we would be able to just move the javelin throw back a certain degree because the javelin throw already overlapped over the track oval. So moving it, and it needed to be regulation. So we would need to move it back further. If it was already blocking the oval, there's no difference there. In our final, when we looked at this, it seemed like it would be worth trying to expand access for other sports, including football, by keeping it a grass field and by modifying it and moving the javelin pole back a little bit further and installing potentially temporary, eventually temporary football stand, like football goalposts, removable ones. It was in the spring when we were thinking about the flood season, we were all sitting there together, and after having the conversations and looking at the numbers, I realized, you know what? We don't have to go in all the way to do all this stuff. We can do at a smaller dollar amount, at least just to also be able to get football in this field and increase its flexibility. So at that time, I said, you know what? I really think that our focus should be right now, let's just go in, like we can probably figure out a way to pay for this smaller modification, which was, I think, in the ballpark of like $300,000, right? Not an insubstantial amount of money, but if it was going to be something that increased that flexible use for our football program as well, then it would be worth considering. So I put it in motion, but those conversations originated in the fall. We involved the athletic director in those conversations, but based on the actual schematics, the rationale that it wouldn't have an impact on the track program made sense. As we put it all in motion, as good practice, we always do a final check before we pull the trigger. I asked Mr. Cook, I said, hey, listen, think we're going to do this. I'm going to advocate for this because if it increases our flexibility of how we can use that field, even in a grass state, then I would want to do that. But make sure but before before I sign off and we're actually doing this work, just go and check with the coaches and make sure we're not missing anything. As it turns out that the way that the track program uses the javelin, they actually don't use the entire regulation size. And the reason they don't do that is so that way the kids who are running the oval, they can continue their warm-ups while the javelin event is going on. And if we were to push that back any further, then it would block the oval and it would change the way that they host meets. So in that conversation, in that context, and then also speaking with the football coach, it would give them some flexibility if we had temporary goalposts to put there, but it would be a headache to put those posts up and take them down. And the field is not necessarily an optimal place for varsity anyway. So in that conversation with the coaches, it was like the cost benefit wasn't paying out. And there's no way to just see that on the paper. So as soon as we realized that, okay, so that we made an oversight here, we assumed something and we didn't realize the assumption that we were making. And that was the point where I said, you know what, we're not going to spend this money if it's not going to give us the benefit that we thought it was going to.
So is that only impacting when we are doing the smaller change? And what if we did the other version of the $900,000 or $800,000 renovation?
$750.
Yeah, $750,000 renovation. Does that also keep this limitation, or will that make it available to the other sports?
No, I think what the takeaway was that no matter what we do with BF Field, whether it stays exactly the way it is, or it's natural turf, or whether even if it's artificial turf, it's not going to be a football site, because years ago it was decided that the priority at that site was going to be track. So all those modifications they were for football. That was where those additional modifications were going to be. We're just taking football off the table. Football is not going to play varsity football is not going to play at BF. We have practices there when we need to, but we don't have a grand design to make that a varsity football site.
So that's the first time I'm hearing that. I'm just trying to kind of understand. So the bottom line is we've done a lot of work, and I'm not saying this, we are exactly where we were a year ago, in that should we lose our fields due to a catastrophic flood or any kind of flood, we have no place for football or soccer or lacrosse or the band or whoever uses those fields. We have nowhere for them to go right now. And that's what I'm trying to understand.
So
because we don't have alternate
Okay,
sites.
so that we're not speaking too much in conjecture here, we've also put together, and I believe this was shared with you, but the contingency plan that was shared, we'll share it again.
Okay.
Because for varsity level sports, any of the varsity level sports, they're going to want to be at like a top level field. They're not going to want to play a varsity level sport at a substandard field. And so so right now our contingency plans were that we'd have to, our,
We have
our
to go-
premier, our premier fields for lacrosse, soccer, and football and flag are Stevens and, well, particularly Stadium, but with potential play at Stevens as well. And then, of course, obviously there's some play at Maple, but there's also all the sub-varsity levels too. So they're very well occupied. So BF gets plenty of use by our teams right now. It's a practice site, even BF small, as they call it, which is like kind of like this very small field over near the building, adjacent to the building,
Yeah.
is a site for practice for a lot of the sports. So there's plenty of use for the facilities. But yes, if there's a flood, they're more or less used anyway. So we're pretty much, we're using our fields. And if we have a flood event, we're going to have to schedule offsite.
So
Thing was that the BF field was large enough, if it was usable,
Yeah, we can
Well,
play
that's
regulation
not-
matches. Yeah.
lacrosse and flag, it just not football.
Now,
So-
now,
so that-
now, 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 to be clear, optimally, and maybe this was your question, if we it becomes more optimal for use for soccer and for regulation gameplay. It's primarily used as a practice site. And again, we'll fact check all this. Really should, if we're gonna have this conversation with this level of depth, we should have Keith Cook with us. But for us to play games, like official, like regulation games, again, they're not full size, but we can get a regulation field on there. But the long jump, if I'm remembering correctly, that was the event, the long jump track is right where the sidelines would be for most of the games, which means that we wouldn't be able to put benches there unless we we're putting them on the material there, the track material. And people standing there with cleats would chew it up. So on an emergency basis, we could have regulation games there if we had some sort of a flooding event. But it would be suboptimal with those lanes there. So
Right.
there was an additional proposal to remove those lanes, build a retaining wall over by the street and have those lanes over by the street. And that wouldn't impact the track program negatively because that event would still be on site. But, and it would give us a regulation field,
Right.
but right now it's,
To the detriment of another sport, potentially.
well, but again, it is a grass field and it already takes a lot of beating. So we're trying to get it, doing our best to get it really up and running as a really in a good place as a grass field too.
Right.
But we're throwing a lot of points around. I'm not really sure what exactly the question is right now. Started with a question about the
So,
origins
so
of that.
starting with the question, and maybe because I'm still not understanding the difference between when we started the project and today, when we are making that conclusion, or whenever that conclusion was made, what new information we received. You explained some of that, but with the current professionals we have, we should have probably known that when we were starting that. And so that's one point. And then I'm not clear if we go with the full size version, not the smaller change, with the full $700,000 version, then other than the football team does not want to play that there, that's the want part. Is there a technical limitation in us providing their full size field there in the event of a flood?
Well, to be clear, wait, I'm sorry, say that. I'm sorry, I missed.
So-
what's your just say that last thing again.
So is there a technical limitation there if we make it a full size field?
Full size what
Or-
field? Full size.
If we utilize the max available space at BF and expand the track, expand the field, grass field, other than that team not wanting to play there, is there a technical limitation that for all the other sports that are happening at the high school field, right? If there's a Stevens and the stadium field, if there's a flood, all the activities that happen there, can they not happen at BF during that time if we expand it? What's the technical?
So
limitation?
I don't know how to answer that right now. So one of the things that's become very clear, as was evidenced by our public comment, that we have some community members who are very invested on this, some who are very invested that they absolutely don't want artificial turf, which we heard. And then we have some community members, which I also reported out on, who have been approaching us for some time. And with conversations that started via the last major flood that we had around coming up with ways to have more stability and resiliency within our fields, who are very interested in fundraising because they believe that they can manage, they can pull together the funds to put artificial turf in that area. I made it clear. And again, this is where I'm saying, like, I want to be clear. I'm not advocating for any specific group. I'm doing my absolute best to be as neutral as possible on this. And that's why I'm open to meeting with Green Ridgewood. I have to limit myself to official groups because there's only so many hours in a day. But the question is, from that group, is if they're basically if they can pull together the almost, you know, $2.5 million plus that would be needed to place artificial turf there and lights, if someone walked in with a check for that amount of money, would we support that? That's how the question's being kind of positioned. So I think what really comes down to is, as much as any talk of converting BF hasn't really been feasibly in the cards for us because we don't have those kinds of funds anyway. I mean, we were going to have to figure out how to put together $300,000 for this smaller modification that might have been a benefit. I mean, that's been our reality. That's why we keep saying this is not, you know, it's not on the table right now. We're not even talking about that. But it's very clear that in the long-term conversation, I think we had some level of conversation about this. As we talk about the long-term, we talk about long-term planning for our facilities. I mean, it's pretty clear that, like, people want to know, like, is artificial turf in the cards over there? And so to answer those questions, I'm going to need to dig a little deeper.
Right. So that's where, so I'm just summarizing, and we talked all of that at the facilities meeting, right? So I'm just summarizing that. So I'm still not clear that did we stop the project because we wanted to explore the turf option, or did we stop the project because there was not enough space, or that it would not be utilized? So if the answer is that we stopped it because we did not have enough space, or it was not big enough to play all the sports there, then how would turf create that space? Right. So I'm still not clear. Why did we? I'm not clear. Why did we stop the project?
I think I answered it already, so I'm going to say it again. So the smaller project,
No,
which smaller project?
The bigger project.
The
Because
bigger project.
we had the both options. I think board was open with the $700,000, $800,000 option.
Well,
also.
so you're saying like why would we not just do that with grass?
Yeah.
It's just a large amount of money.
But that option presented, that whether the board is willing to spend that amount of money.
Well,
We haven't had
that
a
would be something that would be something that we would discuss. Our budget struck. We're going into a budget. I'm not, like, we don't have any money for this right now. So this is all perspective. So as we're going into our next budget, if we're interested in discussing some other type of project, that's fine. I was comfortable working with Mr. Matthews and trying to squeeze $300,000 out of our total budget, because this was unbudgeted, if it was going to make a positive difference as a show of good faith.
So the larger project was stopped because of the budget reasons? Is that the answer?
I'm starting to think we might want to just save this conversation for the next facilities meeting, because I don't feel like we're going anywhere with this.
So that's fine. I don't want to elongate the discussion too much, and I don't want to create a lot of speculation when that's not appropriate, okay? Having said that, I think that you're in on the facilities committee meetings, right? I'm not. So, and I think that at some point, we have to have a very clear, fact-based conversation about whether or not the facilities we currently have in their current condition satisfy the needs of our students. That's the first question, right? And we need answers from coaches and whoever we need, you know, Mr. Higgins and Manello and right? And we need a real comprehensive analysis and discussion of that. And then the question becomes, if they do, well, we're in good shape, right? If they don't, then we need to discuss what, if anything, can we do? Are we willing to do? Are we willing to invest in to make them so that they satisfy the needs of our students, right? And I mean, I'm going to just say the T word, right? Because everyone goes crazy about turf or no turf, but That's putting the cart before the horse. The first question at the Board of Ed we have to look at is, do our facilities meet the needs? And if they don't, how would they meet the needs? And then turf is one of many, many factors that comes in. But we've never had that conversation. And what happens is people, including myself, we kind of, certain buzzwords come and people get a little, I'm going to use the word triggered, and we start jumping around and getting upset. And that's just not helpful. So I think that I personally understand exactly what you were saying about what happened with BF and the decision. And, for what it's worth, Sarab, my understanding is that it simply wasn't worth the money because it was not going to solve the problem. And at the end of the day, it was actually going to cause more of a problem, right? So it wasn't going to solve football's problem and the band's problem, but it was going to create more of a problem for track. That's how I understand it. I don't think there was anything beyond that immediate decision that was made. That's how I view it. Having said that, I think that we really do need to have this conversation, and you can start it at facilities, but at some point it has to go to the larger board, and we need to have it in a way where, just like you do, I hate to say it, but you do state of the schools, and that's done so well with the data, state of the facility, state of the field, something, not to give you more work. But that's what we need to do. And then we can make the decisions. We can take input from the community on all levels, and then we make the decisions we need to make. We can do it in advance, even if we're planning 3-4 years down the road. But we do need to do that.
So thank you. And that was better said than I was saying it, but that's my point, is that at this juncture, this is not, we've had so many various topics that we've been trying to work through as a school district on so many levels and in so many areas, right? It's clear that we need to have a clearer data picture. It's funny, I wasn't thinking of a state of the facilities address per se, but that has more or less been sort of our strategic solution, is to get good data together. Much of this conversation, and probably the biggest problem of this issue, is the extent to which so much of it relies on conjecture. So I'd like to get us to a place where we have a more informed perspective. I've already asked, anticipating these conversations really coming to a head, as it's just such an issue that's so top of mind for the community, that I requested that Mr. Cook would start meeting with the coaches who are potentially impacted, looking at their field use, looking at their field needs, looking at their field interests, to gather as much information as we can. We are also in the process, this has not come up, but it is important to note that we are in the process of evaluating our fields policy and our fields committee, and which serves a function of helping to allocate fields. But we know that there is a lot of misuse, meaning overbooking of the fields. I don't mean overusing, I mean overbooking of the fields. So we also need to look at that. To what extent do our facilities in total get booked and then not used? So that is how I intend to respond to this community fervor around this issue, is to go back, finalize what data I can pull together, and hopefully have a more informed conversation.
And I would think that part of this analysis also has to be the BF usage. So what is their usage?
I mean, that's critical. If
For
we're talking about
intramurals or their track program that they have,
Absolutely.
and any of our schools using that, but for PE and all that. So,
So
we
Mary,
need that.
just why do you think it was not worth it for football and band?
No idea. I would have to, I honestly, I heard maybe less than you did, but my understanding is that it would not work for the football team. I don't know why. You're gonna have to ask the coach that. I truly, but I'd like to hear from them. I'd like to hear from all of them to say, this is what I need to support my program. In a perfect world, we could support everything and everybody and everyone would be happy, right? It's not a perfect world, but at a minimum, we need to get everybody's wish list. We need to get their needs so that we know what it is. We don't even.
I get that.
have to-
I'm still
right
trying to
now.
understand. We had a project in flight that was dropped, and I think your rationale that you summarized is because that expenditure would still not help football and band, but we don't know why, right?
Just know that my understanding is the football program said it's not going to work. So why? I don't know. But if we have to ask them
Well, again,
and find out.
if I can show it, this is just all conjecture.
Right.
Like, so if we can stop the conjecture conversation, let me
Okay.
get real information. I'll get answers to all these questions and everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. And the last question I asked Sheila was, has village council or the village manager reached out to you or Dr. Schwartz for any collaboration in identifying or fixing this problem of fields that we have in the district or in the village of, because we have combined field usage, combined field committee. So are we exploring to solve this problem in collaboration with the village? Have they reached out? Are we working with them or are we not working with them? Is there any plans of working with them on
Solve what problem?
the field utilization or coming up with alternative fields or improving fields?
Well, from what I read in the article, I see that there is a request from the from the commission,
Right.
council.
Right.
At first, it looked like they were their collaboration with the BOE, but then I think they changed the wording. So I haven't seen the official wording.
So
or the
from village
request.
perspective, nobody has reached out to the district for collaboration?
Are you speaking in response to the SHPO meeting last week?
Since the facilities committee, yeah, because I attended that and I heard there that they requested that they reach out to Board of Ed. So if they reach out to Board of Ed, at the Board of Ed table, I'm asking
I
that
didn't
have they reached out?
Call, but I referred it to, I don't, because I didn't see any of the information and I was on vacation. I just took information and I gave it to Dr. Schwartz.
Right.
I do not believe that we've heard from the village
I'm not the
manager
village
and any kind of request from the village manager.
Okay, because they have, I think they have about 60 days.
That's what I read. That's what I
to
read. yeah.
respond, and
I mean,
our meetings are not.
I want to be clear. I anticipate that I will.
Right.
I think there's just some vacation time at the end of summer. So I'm not saying that it wouldn't happen or I wouldn't take the call. It just hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
You're talking about Shedler in particular, but the
Not-
SHPO meeting was about Shedler.
Right,
So
but the
The
request
question
was to-
was it Shedler that we would use Shedler's?
no, that overall the village lack of fields or scarcity of fields, how can that be solved in any collaboration between Board of Ed and village?
Yeah.
Was that the final wording?
Something like that. I don't remember.
As I said, I haven't seen any of the final.
But the Fields Committee is addressing that issue
Okay,
and looking at what Dr. Schwartz said about using the fields. We've talked about different groups
Well,
reserve
I think
fields.
we have to be clear about what you mean the Fields Policy Review
Review.
Group.
the
right?
review.
You're
Yeah.
not talking about the actual Fields Committee.
No, no,
Yeah.
the policy review and looking at fields and making sure they're being utilized in the best ways. So that a review is looking at that to see, and that perhaps may be addressing what you're asking.
perfect. Thank you.
It seems to me that some of our programs use the village fields, right? So baseball, softball, and then Maple is lacrosse, not necessarily varsity lacrosse, but I
But
think
soccer
practice
soccer
Oh.
uses
Oh.
Maple.
Okay.
Varsity, JV soccer uses Maple.
Yeah, okay.
And freshmen, when my daughters were freshmen, they played at BF for soccer. So that would be a full-sided.
And I think,
Space.
So I
lacrosse uses
yeah.
Brookside. We don't know Brookside, right? That's a village field.
no, Brookside is ours.
Brookside is ours?
Horses Village.
Oh, I can,
Hawes is the villages.
okay, sorry.
But I mean, if you're gonna look at field utilization, I think we have to go back to this policy and we have to put in, we have to really understand all of the field utilization. I have not been asked that question. So, but I think this is a great idea to have this information on the fields and collect it. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, policy. Did,
Basically, well, one of
you
the,
have a lot on here,
Well,
but just.
under full
Strauss estimate.
discussion.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you want to talk about that now or.
Is there anything that's that you want to point out? I mean, a lot of it's Strauss estimate driven,
Right.
right? And
But
the
one-
policy on the agenda.
But one of them is
is-
under administration.
Oh,
The regulation of public information, it's a regulation that policy per se, but that's really updating new technologies and how communication to the community is disseminated and approved by the principals. It was the same wording, just updated,
Mhm.
but that's one before the discussion items.
Right,
But
yes.
there's more
We-
coming up in the discussion later on. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add about this, the sun protection. So the only so the two new policies, so we did put into policy, we switched the order of the,
Yes, that's
of the
another
board committee
discussion.
reports, right? Which is, we just did, right? Because we haven't done any work yet, really.
So now we
We've
don't have
just
to.
chatted about it.
Yeah.
And then, the student sun protection was,
I'm sorry,
is sunscreen, and
Oh.
it's a state mandated policy, and it basically says that you don't need a parent's note to use sunscreen. And if the kids go on a field trip, the nurse has got to have sunscreen with her. So that was the only one that was really new. A lot of them were the same thing where they changed one word, is that accurate, Mary?
Yes, I would say that. And many of the policies have not been updated since 2010 or 2011, and they needed to be updated to. One of the things I didn't realize until now I'm doing policy is that when the state of New Jersey changes laws, and if they impact things that the Board of Ed does, then we have to change our wording to conform with what the state has now said. And that happens a lot, much more than I realized that they pass laws that directly affect our day-to-day operations. And so many of these coming up under discussion later on this evening do reflect changes in state laws that we now have to update, and using of words and things like that that are now in process in 2025 versus 15 years ago in 2010, 2011. So it really is amazing to me as a newbie to see how much of an impact. I was very surprised and feel very good that they do care about us. They may not give us all the money that we need, but they are caring for our verbiage.
You can keep hope alive, right? Is that all on policy then? Okay. Curriculum, well, we're going to do a lot on curriculum in the agenda, but and we heard Susan speak about the work of looking at the library media specialists. And so much work happened this summer in rewriting curriculum in coursework, and that's all listed here in the minutes. So I won't go through that because it's exhaustive list. And you will also look at some new programming from community schools that's on the agenda to approve that so they can do their fall program. Yeah. So I think that's about it. Did communications meet?
Yes, we did meet.
Oh.
One of the things that we talked about was that it's been a year since we had the implementation of the new website, and overall it's worked quite well. They have looked at different things and updated here and there. And I wanted to call to the community's attention. There is a search feature that is working very well now. And one of the things that they've also done is enabled PDFs to be searchable. So if there's something in the Board of Ed minutes that you were trying to find, in the past, you would have to go to every one, open it up, and then review it. Now, with the PDFs searchable, that facilitates a quicker research on your part if you're looking for something from the Board of Ed minutes or an agenda from a prior year. And I believe they're going back, Ms. Corliss, you may know, it's going way back with all of the documents, is my understanding. So not just a year or so, it's gone back several years to make all, where possible. Okay. Right, and now those documents may not be there as PDFs any longer. So that was something, and also there is a chat feature that's very helpful to someone who's looking for something they can't find. It may be obvious to others where the calendar is, where's the back to school schedule, but there's a chat feature. And they have kept statistics on what kinds of questions, and that's helped to make the website to continue to be, and more so, user-friendly, because they're getting feedback, what's confusing to people. And the other thing that they're talking about, and we will be hearing more about this, re-looking at the branding and different ways of promoting Ridgewood, and that's also part of what we will be hearing about shortly from the district. And I think those are the main points that we covered.
Great.
Thank you.
So,
A lot of good work went through the committees and most is reflected on our agenda. So I think we're moving in a good direction.
Thanks.
yeah, I would just rephrase that, Sheila. Good work was done internally by the admin team. Committee just reviewed it, most of it, right? Committee did not do most of the work. Committee just reviewed the work that was done. But my question to the communication committee was, did you guys talk about that the survey software? Are we still renewing the license, 54,000 or something?
The Thought Exchange?
Thought
We
Exchange?
did not renew Thought
We
Exchange.
did not renew? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thought exchange, was that the
We
question?
did not yet.
Okay, so
They
let,
did not agree to a smaller price?
No, I actually I spoke with one of their high level executives actually at a
Okay.
conference last year and put in a plea that they would consider, but they're very inflexible with their pricing and they're very specific about the vision for their product. So we have there are a couple of gaps that we're looking at right now, possibly filling because of that. But at this time, we did not renew that contract this year.
Thank you.
okay, we'll go to consent items, regular and routine, attendance at conferences. I move attendance at conference. Would anyone like to second it?
I'll second it.
Yes.
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 Yes, with some reservations, because I did ask, just for a review on,
Yeah.
how we're spending, the money and, that 10 staff members would be going to a New Jersey school boards. I just want to make sure that is, because we downsized the line, the amount of money we put on the line for conferences. So I just want to be cognizant if we approve everything on there tonight, then there would only be $43,000 left for the rest of the year. And just having known how many things come in during the course of the year, valuable conferences. So I just wanted an evaluation of that. So I'm saying there's so many good things. I say yes, but with some reservation and ask for just a
Yeah,
little bit more of a review on that.
And that has our attention at initial conversation with Mr. Matthews. I know, and your concern was that other opportunities that'd be very valuable on the instructional side, especially would they fall off if we're running out of funds here? We're going to make sure we'll redouble our communication. We have been not spending that account fully, and that was the reason for the reduction. I also did review with Mr. Matthews plans for the professional development of the office staff, and I do think that this is appropriate and that there's not going to be an overabundance of professional development that's going to unduly pull from that pot. But we're going to make sure that we communicate out well to that with that reduction, that's not taken to mean that people can't take advantage of opportunities.
Right, right. No, it's just, it's the best use of the money.
Yep.
It's really the cost benefit, right? So,
So one comment on that, and maybe it's a question for the line item perspective, Mr. Ross. So when we call Molly Ness or someone to the district and they give training, that does not go into attendance at conferences, correct? So then why would going to Conquer Math for a 6-day learning, $200 each, $1,200, why would that go into attendance and at conferences? Shouldn't that also be coming from your budget? Then if that happens, then it will free up a lot of budget, because I saw a lot of line items here for Conquer Math in this one. If I'm correct, there were 7 or 8 line items for 1,200, 1,400, 1,200,
So,
1,400.
so I think, again, good questions. I don't think we're gonna be able to answer them well at the table, but I,
Right,
but I,
that
but
may,
but
that may
I'll
give
follow
some
up on it.
flexibility to change the budget,
I-
then that will open up some budget
Sure.
for conferences.
I appreciate that sentiment, and actually,
Right.
we typically will do some of that. If money is being underspent in one area, we'll
Okay.
move it, but for the similar purpose. But to be clear, we also technically, it's all, this is conferences, but it's actually, it's all built, it's all,
Professional
from the
service.
state's perspective, it's district travel.
Okay.
So that's the travel component that requires us to approve it in this way. And that's due to the
Right,
accountability
but these are just
regulations.
weighing, so 200 each trip.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the reason why it's not coming up under curriculum, it's coming up under conferences, it's just because of the travel purpose.
Right, so I'm just saying there may be some way to change the budgeting there and possibility there. And also, if we have limited number of people who can go to the school boards, I'm not going this year, so you have one more room there.
I'm
So
aware.
it's it's the same date as Diwali. I won't be going there, so you have one more room there for.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay.
We have 4 yes, motion pass.
Yes. Administration, we have the second reading adoption of the revised regulation on public information. And the district organization chart now is finalized. That was discussed in this July.
In one of our summer executive
Yeah.
sessions, yeah.
Would you like to move administration?
Move administration.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Handy. Mr. Donnie,
I'm no on B1 and yes on B2. So no for the revised regulation, but yes for the org chart.
Ms. Handy,
Yes.
Ms. McCallie,
Yes.
Mr. Mahmood, Ms. Brogan.
Yes.
So you have 4 on B2, yes, and 1 no on B1.
Correct.
Correct.
No,
Motion
it's only
passed.
3, not 4.
No, it's
Oh, it's
B1, B1,
B1,
Oh,
B2.
B1, yes.
B1. There's 3.
3. And then
Yes,
it was-
there's 1.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. Mhm. Okay, I move curriculum instruction. Ms. McKinley seconded.
Mr.
Are there
Donnie?
any questions?
Sorry, question. Hearing none. Mr. Donnie,
Yes.
Ms. Handy,
Yes.
Ms. McCallie,
Yes.
Mr. Mahmood, Ms. Brogan,
Yes.
4 yes. Motion passed.
Human Resources, this is long again. Thank you for all your work. We, at this point, all of our known positions are filled. Yes.
Yes, all of our known teaching positions are filled.
So that's a lot. We are approving a new job description, a teacher intervention specialist. Were you all clear on that? Or Dr. Schwartz, would you like to just give a little background on
Sure,
that?
me too. So you probably heard us talking about multi-tiered systems of support paradigm that we're adopting here in the district. To be clear, this is being broadly adopted. We actually spoke about it quite a bit at our administrative retreat today. So normally I am very skeptical, and I encourage skepticism around educational fads and trends, right? And kind of all these different acronyms that people like to throw around. But the origin of MTSS really came from just research and best practices in schools that successfully close the achievement gap and really help all students and really get high levels of achievement among all students. Those different practices were researched and sometimes organized under accreditation programs like Middle States. And a company, and I don't know the full story of the company, but there was a company called Response to Intervention that specialized in helping districts to build these tiered systems of supports. So RTI, if you've been in education, you probably heard that term, was generally thrown around as a best practice in education because it really works. It's basically a conglomeration of research-based practices, which consist primarily of monitoring, like basically building authentic assessments that align to standards-based, research-based curriculum, and then having assessment systems for benchmarking, and then progress monitoring for students against those benchmarks. And then, of course, having a plan for how to intervene if students aren't performing against those benchmarks. So basically, it's just a quality assurance system. The term multi-tiered system of support became a generic term because RTI was a brand. So now it's become common language that a multi-tiered system of support is a paradigm for looking at a school that involves ensuring that we have all those things that I described. But unlike other initiatives, like say a math teaching strategy initiative where the focus might be teachers, an MTSS, multi-tiered system of supports, refers to the entire school, basically. And the idea is that a teacher can conceptualize what they're supposed to do, but the idea is that they can do at tier 1 level, they can do a lot with the kids in their classroom if they're skilled and they're experienced and they're trained properly. They could try to meet the various needs. They can use flexibility grouping. They can use differentiation strategies. They can use data work to identify which students can work a little more independently while they focus on some more struggling learners. But there is a limitation to what the best teacher can do with a classroom of students when some of the needs of those kids are so profound. And I'm not just talking special needs. I just mean their academic needs. Maybe they have major learning gaps, like they changed schools and they just missed a significant of education. Can you just pass me that microphone over there? Mine's getting spotty. All right. Can you all hear me? Yes. So, so effectively, so the teacher can do everything that they can do, and but it's up to the administration to build the master schedule in such a way that teachers A, have the time to collaborate with each other, B, have the tools to have the data that they need to monitor student progress, but then also have additional flexible structures in the school that can meet the more intensive needs that a student might have. So let's say, for example, a student otherwise is neurotypical, but maybe has just some pretty acute reading needs, like they're not acquiring reading the way that we would hope that they would. The teacher can do everything they can in the classroom, but the next level, if we're not being able to meet the need in the classroom, is to give them a little bit of additional time outside of the classroom. We would call that a tier 2 intervention. But that is not something that a teacher can just make happen. An administrator has to do that. So there are a variety of different ways by which we can adjust our master schedule and work with our staff to have teachers flexible, to have either teacher flexibility in the teacher's schedule to do interventions in addition to their normal teaching load. That's one model. Another model is to have specialized teachers who kind of serve to push into classroom and help teachers within their own classroom, and then provide a little support outside of the classroom. So we're proposing a position called the teacher intervention specialist. And the purpose of this position is that they would be someone who would specialize in understanding how MTSS systems are designed to operate, and would be someone to bridge the gap between the administrators and the teachers working in the classroom, and that they're pushing in. They're also providing some pull-out services. But our general education teachers too, as we adjust our master schedule and build out the sophistication of our multi-tiered system of supports, and our special education teachers also will also be able to provide some interventions as needed. So moving to a multi-tiered system of support is not something that you just do in 1 year. It's a paradigm shift. So last year was really our paradigm shift year. And this is the first year we're really going in with the mindset of we are implementing a multi-tiered systems of support. And one of the first things that we need is to repurpose some of our positions, our full-time equivalencies that we have available, so that way we have some teachers who are freed up to specialize and to help out here. Ms. Murphy, this is something that,
Are you,
it's a district-wide initiative,
District-wide.
but the MTSS specifically happens at the school level.
I want to say as a teacher, it's correct if these are students who do not have IEPs. And, right, they don't, because I remember, well, for the students that I'm thinking of that I had when I was teaching, and you identified something and you really weren't sure as a teacher, and you tried different strategies, and there was more that was needed. And we have an intervention committee, but I think that students were helped with these strategies, and it was to get them to notify, to figure out later on, maybe, testing them for an IEP or a 504 or something, but they weren't always identified as having an IEP, but we were seeing something. And I think it really helped a lot of students that I did know about, that I taught, to see, oh, yes, this child needs additional things. I'm doing it in social studies, but they may need that in math. And when we all talked about it, we realized it wasn't just an isolation. And I really think that the students I knew about and what we did in the past was helpful. And I'm very pleased to see a formalized program and training and the support that students could use, rather than to see them struggle and struggle. This helps them without the formality of leaving that class, having something substitute or whatever it is. And I think for many students, it was a very beneficial addition to their program, and yet they always didn't necessarily stay in that pullout with extra help. They were able to, do much better and get back. And like you said, when they're coming from another school or whatever the case may be, now we felt that they had that support and they were able not to have an IEP or to have additional services, that they were just, they needed just a little bit more. And this provided, it was very helpful.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
And so these positions that we've identified are strictly at the middle school for this school year, whether or not we expand that beyond. But as we've been doing the work and we're looking at state of the schools and reporting data over the last 2 years and really deep diving into data over the last 2 years in these areas, we have identified that these transition grade areas, specifically 6 to 8, really needed the most support at this point in time. I will say that both middle schools have done a lot of work over the course of last year to set us up for success this year. And these FTEs were identified during the budget process as being able to be converted into these positions. Internal staff were identified that had the skill set and training we were looking for. They have worked over the summer to build out programming for this year. And as Dr. Schwartz mentioned, they are going to be working with teachers in classrooms to give them support as we do not better, but we do more differentiation and focusing for skills in our classroom for all students, and then also providing that small group instruction that sometimes is needed that we have not really had at the middle school level for all students, available to all students, and they'll work on that. And they'll continue to work on looking at data and helping teachers utilize data in a way that can identify where students' needs are and be able to provide those supports in their general ed classrooms before we get to a place where we're referring students into IRS or then into looking at needing, further additional testing for child study team, et cetera. So this is really a way to make sure our students are getting what they need before they get to a point where we're identifying that they need much more than what can be provided just in a regular classroom setting.
The other thing that on the agenda is we're finalizing the gifted and talented teachers for this year that will begin their work to create the program so that in January we will begin to roll that out, right?
The other thing I'd like to take a mention is Roman numeral 6KK, and call out the staff that records and transmits our Board of Education meetings. To Jason and Jason, who are here tonight with us, having it a far cry from the TV on the stand, the TV monitor, not monitor, but camera on a tripod, to having what they do. They zoom out, they focus, and you could never before see the board and the presenters all at one time. So I wanted to call out and thank them for doing such a great job in the technology, they and the other staff members who were here listening to us go on and doing such a great job. I want to thank you very, very much.
Nice. Okay, so we have a human resources. We've moved it, seconded it, and we are ready to vote.
Mr. Donnie,
Yes.
Ms. Handy,
Yes, yes.
Ms. McCallie,
Yes.
Ms. Brogan,
Yes.
motion passed 4-0.
Okay, and now we are at finance. Just let me go through the. Yeah. Okay, finance,
Finance?
I'll second it.
Moved by Mr. McCallum, second by Ms. Brogan.
Right, let me just read into the record the donations and with a thank you, Ridgewood High School Home and School Association, $15,000, a gift in kind of new carpeting for the Little Theater. Ridgewood High School Ambassadors, $725.85, a gift in kind of a new television to be used by the Freshman Focus, RHS Ambassadors and Peer Counseling Groups. Celine Kim, $100 gift in kind of fabric to be used by the Fashion Design Program. RHS New Players Company, $2,600 to be used to pay for a chaperone for the trip that already happened, right, to Edinburgh, Scotland. RHS Band Association, $39,000 gift in kind of a Ford F-650 24-foot box truck to be used by the marching band. Congratulations for that. They did a lot of fundraising for that last year and they needed that second band truck. Somerville Home and School Association, $8,000 to be used to pay for school clubs at Somerville Elementary School. Thank you all for your donations. So generous of this community. Are there any questions on finance? If not, let's go to a vote.
Okay, roll call. Ms. Donnie?
So Mr. Matthews, I trust the process that you have done for the bidding. But I'm just not comfortable with the vendor and the amount, so I'm voting no on E2. Everything else is yes. So it's not about the process, it's not about your judgment, it's just if we just had one bidder, I'm just not comfortable with just that one bidder, right? So E2, which is the solid waste and recycling collection, I'm voting no. Everything else is yes.
Ms. Sandy?
Yes.
Ms. McCallum? Ms. Brogan?
Yes.
Got 4 yes and 1 no on E2.
Yes,
Motion
that's
passed.
it. Yeah. 3 yeses and 1 no on E2.
Yeah,
And 4 yeses on everything else.
yes. Yes.
Okay, approval, there are no resolutions and motions not included in consent agenda. Approval of bills, Mary McCallum.
I reviewed the bills, and I moved them for consideration. I'm still trying to get to that page in the agenda.
I second that. It's page 31.
Thank you.
Roll call. Mr. Donnie?
Yes.
Ms. Sandy?
Yes.
Ms. McCallum?
Yes.
Ms. Brogan?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Board member announcements. We've already talked about it. Wednesday, we welcome back our staff. Convocation, 8:00 in the morning. It starts 8:30. The I think 8 to 8:30 is a sort of a little breakfast if people want a cup of coffee, and then 8:30 starts convocation. That's always such an exciting, wonderful day. I can't wait to see what new players have in store for us this year. Last year, I met the student at later on in the year. She goes, "Oh, I played you." So with gray hair and all, so, and a scarf. So, perfect. Students, we welcome back on September 2nd, half day. I know there must be really excited to come back to school. There's so many great things that are going to happen again this school year. So, does anyone have any other announcements? Okay. Discussion item, revise. Does anybody have any questions on policies or regulations? They are really a lot of just updates on them from Strauss Esme.
Do
Acceptance.
you know what is the change on board member election and appointment?
Yes,
Mostly wording.
You know
that,
what?
that was on the,
It had to do.
regional, right?
Yeah, it had to do with, with the regionals, the regional schools, not the, what, we're not Title II, type
Type two?
two,
Type
thank
two.
you. Yeah, so it didn't technically affect us. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Acceptance of minutes, June 16th, special public meeting, and executive session. June 23rd, executive session and regular public meeting, and July 21st, executive session and July 21st, regular public meeting. I move the minutes. Would someone like to second them? Mary will second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain from June 23rd. So I'm yes on everything else except June 23rd executive session minutes and June 23rd regular public meeting. I was absent that day. I did not attend the meeting. So I'm going to abstain from voting on those minutes.
Okay, so you have
One abstention,
one
everybody else.
abstention on
approved.
623 and 4 yeses on everything else.
Correct. And
Yes.
2 minutes on 623. Executive session and regular public.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Other business?
I just wanted to ask, board goals. I'm thinking that it's already end of August and not board goals, not district goals.
Board goals are,
January.
That's something that we're doing
reorganization.
we're doing in January, right? But, where I was going with that though was a review of where we're at on them, because are we gonna do the, I'm so sorry, I can't, I'm like, it's too late at night.
For
I
the
apologize.
next meeting, we'll have an
We're gonna
update.
talk an update and talk about,
Sure.
the self-evaluation, right?
Yes,
Because I thought that was something we were doing in the fall.
we are.
Okay.
That would be October.
Okay, so it's still coming up. It was just something that was on my,
Yes,
it came up. Thank you.
yes, we'll circle around to those.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
we'll put that on the agenda, and a discussion of, yes, because we didn't do it last, because we didn't have enough, not enough turnover, and discussion of self-evaluation,
I was just wondering, and I think I can answer my own question. We have this meeting this week, at the end of August. Is that to make sure that we capture all of the new employees as opposed to having it last Monday? Because were all the teachers or people that were approved, are they here? Did they know they're going to probably have a job? So they were all, it didn't hold back. It didn't hold back. Okay, I just want to make sure that no teachers couldn't do anything yet until today.
You have summer resolutions that allow two
Oh, Okay,
board members
that's
to
just,
do
what I
it,
didn't know. I just
Yeah.
didn't know if our timing
but
should have been a week earlier or something like that. No, it was just.
Yeah.
I just
And-
didn't know.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no, the
okay,
one item I want to mention on other business. So couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, the village council.
sorry.
That's okay. So a few weeks ago, the village council introduced an ordinance, which eventually, for now, they voted it down, but it's still in discussions, is to build a senior housing facility, Kensington Senior Housing Facility, or rezone an area in the village as S1 zone for senior housing, assisted living. Um, Currently, those properties pay around $200,000 approximately in property taxes. And if our share is 60%, 65%, we get somewhere around $130,000 from those properties. And in the past, Kensington had asked for a pilot tax arrangement when they were applying for Broad Street property a few years ago. So I did go to one of the village council meetings in my personal capacity. I clarified that I'm not representing the board. I'm representing one member, or the Saurabh Dani. And I asked about the pilot. And I also asked that question in an email. And for both of those, the official response so far is that they are not considering pilot, or they have not promised any pilot arrangements to this developer. So that's the understanding right now that I have, that if that project goes through or whatever that happens to that project, as of now, they have not asked the developer, or the developer has not asked, or there is no arrangement between the village and the developer. And that's what Keith told me. That's what Heather responded in an email. So I have an email for that.
Okay. We'll move to comments from the public. There is no public wanting to make comments here, but let me see. Mr. Loving? You're on with the board.
Good evening, Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood taxpayer again. I'd just like to point out in terms of a housekeeping detail to all of you, occasionally you will look at somebody in the audience and start speaking to them. I believe you looked at Ms. Corliss tonight and got some information from her. Those of us who are sitting at home cannot hear the responses from those people in the audience who you were talking to. And it is somewhat, I think, disrespectful to us. I know at the council meeting, when they speak to people in the audience, there is a portable or a battery operated microphone that's given to the individual so that they are recorded on the sound system and the people at home can hear what they're saying. So I would appreciate it if you would consider that in the future. If you were going to speak to somebody who is not around the table with a microphone, that you perhaps pass them a battery operated microphone so we at home can understand or hear what is being said.
Thank you for pointing.
My other comment concerns a statement made by Ms. Brogan concerning the window replacement project that took place at Benjamin Franklin a few years back. Ms. Brogan, you indicated that that project went very well. I'd just like to remind you that during that project, there were quite a few complaints from neighbors who lived in that area about the noise that was being made at night during that project. So if we are, or if you are planning work to take place in the evening, if you could do something to make sure that the noise level is kept to a bare minimum, the people who live around the schools where that work is taking place would be most appreciative. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Phone number ending in 252.
Good evening again. This is Ann Loving. Can you hear me?
It's very soft, Anne. If you maybe speak up just a little bit, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Is this any better?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. I just switched off of a different phone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Ann Loving, Ridgewood resident. A couple of things I want to point out. One is that I know that Ms. McCallie referred to turf as the T word, but I think you really need to keep in mind that it's not about flooding or no flooding. It's not about playability or anything like that. Turf is dangerous. It's toxic to the environment. It is dangerous for children to play on. It creates heat fields. It's just never to be an option. And I would also like to point out that questions about turf that are directed to the board, I think they should really be answered by the board, because it is the five of you, well, only four of you are there tonight, but it is the five of you who vote on budget things and policies. So you are really the ones who should answer the questions as to how you feel about anything really that the public asks. And the last thing I'd like to say is, I'm at home and I'm listening on TV, and I never, ever have a problem understanding Mr. Donnie. And I find it very strange that the superintendent has to ask Mr. Donnie to clarify over and over and over again what he's saying. You're sitting right next to him. I can understand him from over here in my basement. I think it's disrespectful, and I just really need to say that. Thank you very much.
Cynthia O'Keefe, you're on with the board.
Hi, good evening. This is Cynthia O'Keefe, Ridgewood resident. So I wanted to make a few comments. First, I do want to thank Mr. Donnie for asking some of the critical questions, and maybe it seemed like he was asking them numerous times, but I myself dial into these meetings. I'm still very confused. I also attend the Fields Committee calls, and I'm, you know, concerned because, I consider us all to be, intelligent people. And I feel like sometimes we go round and round and round with not only a discussion about turf or no turf or the T word or whatever you want to call it, but honestly, we're going round and round about, field avail, the whether there's a necessity for additional fields or expansion or not. And from what I've heard tonight, it sounds like the village is the one clamoring for additional fields. And if this was such a serious occurrence of a lack on the part of like school fields, your BOE fields, um, it wouldn't be such a casual discussion. So I'm getting the sense that there is no real like urgency. Yes, field maintenance is important. But I do get the feeling that maybe it's not as urgent as everybody's trying to make it out to be. And maybe like you said about a paradigm shift, maybe we need a paradigm shift in thinking about turf in the flood zones because it seems to be very expensive. Residents are complaining about having to pay, exorbitant amounts of money to replace those turf fields every time there is a flood, and these occurrences are coming. So maybe a paradigm shift there. That's all I really want to say tonight, but it sounds to me like the need isn't as critical as it has been made out to be, at least from all the meetings that I've attended, and there are numerous ones. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Susan, you're on with the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Dan.
All right, cool, thanks. I'm Susan Ruan. I live in Ridgewood. I just have a few topics. One, I want to thank the high school coach, for track because he spoke up about repairing the Kingsbridge footbridge that we've been having out here. And I heard at a village council meeting that the high school coach said that the long distance runners use that field, and so use the footbridge as part of their training. So I do want to thank him to put some pressure on the village council to finally fix that bridge. The next is, and this is just a side note, I listened to the field discussion, and I know that the Army Corps of Engineers were coming in to discuss, the flooding of the various residential as well as the fields. I just wondered whatever happened, or I know it's, a 10-year plan, but could they give any short-term fixes or like short-term solutions that can help with the flooding at the fields that are in the flood zones and stuff. I think that there is an overusage of fields, and I think it has to be better regulated. And to hear that some fields are overbooked and then the person doesn't show is very discouraging. So that was pretty much it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Not seeing any more hands. I'll close. Oh, is there one? I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't see that one. There's an iPhone. Did it just come up? Oh. So whoever's on the iPhone, you're on with the board.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? I'm just calling because I would like to thank you for for all the information about the fields and everything. My daughter has been doing soccer for so many years, and we've been going up and down,
Excuse me,
with the ticks and
excuse me.
things with the fields. Hello.
Yes. Could you start by giving us your name and
Oh, my name is
municipality?
Evelyn. My daughter is Shayna Ramos.
Okay.
So I wanna, it's been a lot of progress with the thick and thins, with the fields. My daughter's been doing soccer for so many years, and with the fields over, I think it was Somerville or Willard, they did a lot of replacement, and I'm being one of the parents who's been like all the time, you know, not complaining, but make sure bring the necessities right for the kids. Anyways, I'm grateful for all the progress that's been going on. There is never ending, and like own a house, you never end in the house. There is always something to do. However, I would like to just request. I'm a little bit sad and upset because my daughter didn't make it for the team this year for soccer, and I was a little concerned. I spoke to the coaches and everything. I say, please try to reconsider it because the soccer's been like a family for us, you know, for so many years, and she's been playing consistently, discipline. She gained a lot of benefit from it, and she's been about to balance the sports and academic. But this year, I'm very concerned because she didn't make it to the team. So I spoke to the coach and I say, please try to reconsider her because I'm nervous. This is 11th grade, and it's a lot of pressure, a lot of things, and they need to get the balance, the exercise balance. And yeah, so I'm very concerned about that, since she's been active all the time. When they are not, you know how it is. They can get, you know, I don't want her to be like depressed or, you know, without being active. So that's it. That's all what I want to share. And hopefully I can have a answer or help about that. Thank you.
Thank you. That appears to be the end of comments from the public. Mike, this parent.
Yeah, so let me just acknowledge a few folks. Thank you all for speaking. Heard some comments about being mindful of noise in evening construction. We can certainly do that. I appreciate the feedback from Mr. Loving about hearing comments from the audience. That is a good reminder. Thank you for that. We will make sure to follow up on that. And I'm sorry you weren't able to hear those folks. Here, Mrs. Loving's had some comments about turf. We appreciate those. There's a comment just about me asking for clarification. Whenever an issue is getting tricky and hard to understand in terms of like there's a complicated issue with multiple perspectives, I always ask for clarification. So we talked about a lot of really specific and tricky topics today. So I did ask for clarification. If you attend my coffees, you'll find that sometimes if people come on and they have like just kind of it's a complicated issue. Or if I don't feel really confident that I know exactly where the person's going with the question, then I'll just ask clarifying questions. So I certainly don't mean anything by it, and I hope that it didn't come off in any way disrespectfully, Mr. Donnie. Certainly just a desire to be able to speak accurately. Mr. Donnie also has some very interesting perspectives too, so I always have to make sure I'm getting the complexity of the perspective. Again, more comments about turf. Appreciate everybody's sentiments. The question about Army Corps, Army Corps Army Corps projects are over a decade long. So they have offered some resources. Part of the just the length of that project is kind of what has driven us to really try to seek some of our own solutions, which we're trying to do, which of course we'll be talking more about in the coming months.
And then for Mrs., I think it was Mrs. Ramos was our last speaker. So thank you so much for reaching out. I'm so sorry. I know it's really hard when it's a really hard place to be, not making a team. So we certainly have some suggestions and tomorrow offer some support. So so we'll have somebody reach out to you tomorrow, and we'll make sure that that something better comes along for your daughter as well. And if there's any other concerns you have for us, please share that with us.
And Sheila, there was one more hand right off when you were saying that there's no more at that time that went up.
I'm sorry, we missed you. You're on with the board 031. Are you there? Okay. All righty.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll close, we already closed public comment. We'll do it again. And I move to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And Mr. Donnie, you are closest, but you're over, so